you see the different products coming out of it. Because, of course, when you look at the result from one compressor to another, jump starting the maggrav unit, it's going to be hard to tell exactly what kind of molecules are running around from the maggrav unit to the compressor or in the compressor.
And then I think that goes back to that question about matter and non-matter. Are we even? We're talking more about fields, not particles.
Exactly. That's what I figured out when I started my double core maggrav unit. That when you actually get to see the fields with your own eyes, reality gets quite ironic because the color particles, depending on the focus, when you're looking at the color particles as you can see the current, they're going to tell you what it is. And sometimes they're mixed. It's like, for example, if you look at the entire DNA and you compare it to a snake with a tail and a head, and you realize that a small little part of the capacity from the DNA is what we call amino acid. So when you focus on the amino acid as a phenomenon produced from different organs, they don't look alike, the amino acid. And then you realize that, wow, the more and more you look at it, it's like molecule combinations. And depending on the combinations, it's going to give you the skills. So instead of learning the periodic system by heart, which is useless, it's much easier and better to use experience. And this technology allows us to use experience. And then you will know exactly what, for example, amino acid is. You will even see the charm of the differences. So when Mr. Keshe was talking about using the information from a trunk of a tree and see the result from an apple, you won't see the difference in the DNA between the trunk and the fruit going all through the leaves, because the combination mechanism in the DNA is so close to each other that you just have to look at it as beauty and charming, and kind of lose control. The more you lose control, the more you can see from different angles. And it seems to me that we better hurry to look at as many angles as possible.
So when you used the copper oxide, you didn't worry when you consumed the liquid plasma of copper oxide. You weren't worried about the maybe the disinfecting properties that may be in your stomach, that it might.
No, there is the only gans I would really hesitate to drink liquid plasma is lead. You know, I don't want to get heavier. But when you drink, the liquid plasmas are going to show you very fast what you need and don't need. So, for example, zinc and copper is largely enough effective for plants, animals, and human being. But if you add heavier metals in your liquid plasma, it's always gonna end up either in your pineal gland and pituitary gland, or it's gonna be on your atomic structure. But it's not going to stay. So in order for this to stay, you have to dive into the effects of copper gans itself, liquid plasma, because the copper, it's not easy to understand, because when you look at cells and molecules, it's the same DNA and the same memory. It's just that when the zinc liquid plasma or literally the gas are put on the cell structure, you realize that it's taking off your rids, the facial lines. But that's not what is happening at all. That's a big misunderstanding. Although it is the result. What is happening is that it's using the DNA structure from the cell, using its memory to go back to a natural shape. That's the truth of it. Because when we are unconscious as much as conscious, 50-50, the cells on the molecules are responding to your mind thoughts. It's giving you consciously and unconsciously orders to obey. And when you cut that kind of attitude towards your cells and your molecules, then you can see and feel how the copper and the zinc is helping the body, how it's talking in the now, because the cells and the molecules doesn't have time and space. So what is actually going on is that you have to square up, forgetting about your belief system, just put it in the garbage. It was worth nothing, and the fact that you came from your mother and father and have that memory from in the genes doesn't mean doesn't mean a thing either. And so when you realize that these two factors are going to play a major role for you to get into balance, then it's not a surprise. You have one physical state and one mental. And the copper it's a bit harder than zinc, because zinc is absolutely connected to what we call in mysticism Christ energy. That doesn't have anything to do with Jesus Christ. The zinc. For example, I have a zinc coil here, and I would really recommend for everybody to get one of these and hold it. If you hold it, the first reaction that you're going to get, and I don't feel much in this physical world, but when I hold this, it's going to hit you. The kindness. It's a very particular kindness that is the beginning of the energy coming from this zinc coil. And it's the same thing if you bend over in your zinc tank or a zinc container as you wipe the sauce, you realize it's the same feeling as the coil. It's going to hit you a very particular kindness. And then when you allow this procedure to happen through kindness, I could speak for 2 days when it comes to that particular kindness. But if you allow that part first energy to happen, then the zinc is going to introduce other phenomena that it can provide for nature, animals, and the human race.
Can you speak about iodine and how that interacts with the body?
Yes, iodine has very much of the same skills as next to iodine, I have a new information when it comes to the usage of salt water. If you look at iodine as one of the most effective elements that we can use in this plasma technology, you realize what is the center, what is in the body, what is the real receptor from iodine. and you realize that it has to do with your words, your expression to words, how to find the balance between your emotion and your expression, which in this case is the word. And what I now call neutral amino acid. I don't have other words to express it, because neutral amino acid means that when you realize that there is iodine in the salt water, you can actually use salt water and put iodine into it, so you can keep a bigger structure than iodine as a lone product. And
is that seawater or fresh water and salt made?
Seawater.
Seawater.
Yeah, and the reason is because I've seen that when you pay attention to the load side on an MHU, and you realize that we're using salt water, it's so simple. But in the salt water, we have the what I call the neutral amino acid. It's not neutral in the usual sense. What I mean about neutral is it's actually that when you aim on somebody's body using the pain release pens, when you aim at people and the bodies, you use consciously, more and more consciously, the amino acid from the salt water going straight through as energy from the plasma batteries towards the coils, and in this case, it's a very sophisticated health pen, and there is two of them. And now you're using, especially two skills where you have iodine as ready to work with you, with the natural amino acid from the salt water. And when you realize that there is another obvious secret in the salt water that we didn't pay much attention to, and that was the natural I forget the word, from silicon, the natural silicon in the salt water. And if you keep the understanding, the difference between the energy from the silicon and the essence of the silicon, then you realize it's the same way we're using nano material. We're not using the nano material. We're using the fields that we can surf on. And in this case, you really need, if you want a third set of teeth, using ghost DNA as a base, then you have to go to a more better understanding on a physical scale that has to do with the tooth tissue, the tooth, and the idea of a new birth. And we know now that there is at least two accessible elements using them from the iodine and the neutral amino acid from the salt water, plus the silicon. And the silicon is very much used already, but in a physical shape. So it's very it's a small favor that silicon mixtures are the dentists are actually using in order to imitate a natural tissue. You use silicon, and as a parallel to the new pair of boots you can have. But the idea of the birth, one wouldn't be surprised to see that you have actually the essence from the silicon as much as using the essence from the available amino acid from the sea salt water.
Can you speak about cobalt? I was trying to see if Jackie could tell us how to get it from, because Mr. Kesh said vegetables was one of the best ways to get cobalt. If you could speak about cobalt.
I have no idea, no experience whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate the share.
Oh, you're welcome. That's why I exist, to try to answer on with enthusiasm and honesty.
And then calcium. Do you have any insight to calcium oxide, the GANs of calcium?
Yes, but it's a pity because Monique, she's much more into, because what we did here is something that really is amazing to use. It's just like as a parallel to calcium. This is a mixture that seems to be very natural when they come together. It's liquid plasma zinc based, and liquid plasma coming from the sour soap fruit. And so when you do this, it's extremely good for the atmosphere, as much for the skin and hair and physical things, and at the same time, you have to just make sure that you wash the soursop liquid plasma many times, because it does have a tendency to not smelling well. And the zinc based liquid plasma is increasing the balance in the pH value as a result, just by mixing them. So of course this is very good to know as a general plasmatic rule, to test out the gases, so you don't have to add, so you can try it as much as possible to avoid mixtures from not from the plasmatic field, in order to force the pH balance, not using our technology. Like for example, zinc and copper are, for the most part, is so powerful that you can actually just test out and see that you're coming up and down on pH. So it's much better to use zinc and copper for this than buying some fishy product that is going to give you pH value, but pH balance, but it's not sure that you're not killing some other skills during that procedure, killing amino acids from certain kinds of fruits and vegetables and so on.
I found that a CH liquid plasma with calcium works very good on psoriasis, like rashes on the body. It seemed to work very well for people that suffer with plaque psoriasis that is on the skin. It seems to work very good.
That's really interesting that you're saying. Monique, can you please repeat that? It's worth hearing once again.
Yes?
Yeah, I found that a CH liquid plasma with calcium works very well for psoriasis.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, because we have a couple of friends with severe psoriasis. Thank you. Thank you very much. Calcium. Okay, I'll work on that one. Thank you.
Mostly CH3 GANs with calcium in the liquid plasma state. You can use it topical. Works very good for psoriasis.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Have you made calcium like a calcium GANs
Not yet.
from bones? Mr. Kesh was saying from bone you can make some calcium GANs.
Yeah, but I haven't tried it because I have only one butcher I trust here, and he's on holiday. So I'm waiting for him to come back because he has access to animals which are not treated with cruelty, and so he will be able to give me some nice books.
Yeah, I didn't know if Jackie had any experience because he seems to know a lot about that too.
I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Does anybody have any other questions for Monique or Tubiar? Be sure to come live when he's testing that unit out.
Yes, he's just playing around with his guns right now. He's working away. Oh, he's back. He's back. I will just hand him back to you.
You know, Flint, I've been mentioning a phenomenon. I think it was a couple of months ago, and it's like now it's even more clear. So you know, when we're watching Douglas approaching the White House, and of course all the people from the Keshe Foundation thinking about him and so on, taking the whole trip for granted that nothing bad is going to happen to that guy. You know, he's our hero.
Yeah.
Well, when you you know the compliments that you deserve, Flint, and you, Rick, all of these efforts are starting to look more and more like a culture. Where the definition of culture is doesn't depend on how you lived yesterday. It can be very fast understood, and you realize that you're living intelligent life, as much physical and spiritual, you know, or mental, on the mental level. And this culture, it's like if we think about what is going to happen in our close future in Rome, when we get together once again, and you realize that what was actually going on for all of us in Dubai was that there was no hero there. We were all heroes, and after a couple of days, we kind of all felt that we can go home and keep all the Keshe Foundation members in the heart, because what I discovered there was not some usual convention. They were all, 150 honest people, which is a great shock compared to other kinds of congresses, and it has to do with culture, that you realize that you're not into some fancy technology, or you're into a fancy culture. And the galactic attitude is part of the space program for us, the Space Institute. And when it comes to Jackie's efforts and his careful ways, although Mr. Kesh from time to time have not shared the carefulness to Jackie and said, I hope you eat, you must eat some, you know, at least a piece here and a piece there. And so that will be on the food sector. And all this global understanding that we kind of pick up here and there in plasma technology, it's actually showing us that this is a culture. It's not a technology. It is a culture. And you know, Michael Jackson's song, if you want to change the world, you start with a mirror. And when Mr. Kirsch is talking about the power of zinc and copper, it's like when you listen carefully to what he's saying every time you know, in the beginning of the Knowledge Seeker courses, he's only talking about copper and zinc. And there is a very good reason for it, because that's how you heal. That's how you heal all living creatures, and the plant and the animal and the human beings. That's how you heal. That's what you use to heal. And the response from the plants is directly combined to the roots of all kind of fruits and vegetables. And so that's not a surprise. It seems that we human beings, when we can agree about that this is a culture, we're part of a troop with a new culture and a new behavior towards technology as much as every day. The plants are telling that I'm going to hide my first secret if you give me zinc or copper-based gas in the roots. And Da Vinci said that if you want to discover the secret of the plant kingdom, it's not enough just to look at the leaves, but you have to lift the leaves up. And when you do, you realize that we are talking about Fibonacci, straight given in the nature, as much as the pleasure of discovering, for example, the difference between push and pull. And it's so clear now that if we do understand the difference between push and pull, then you have a takeoff. Either your body or a 10-ton stone, you know. And so it's a culture. We're preparing for something so big. It's a radical change, and this radical change has combined a galactic attitude as much as a culture that everybody can understand to some degree, and then from there on try to climb in consciousness as much as possible and as fast as possible, because this technology are covering the whole life. So it's a culture.
Mm-hmm.
That is the most important things I really have to share, because I really get to understand how people are in this in this plasma family. I understand their questions. I understand the answers, and I think there is a very particular reason how come that I understand, I remember word by word from the beginning when Mr. Kesh was starting to speak. Every word he said. And I always had a kind of a good memory, but to that extent. And I was thinking, well, I don't think it has much to do with Mr. Kesh as a person, but the information that he's giving. Like, if you want to get it straight, then listen up, pay attention to what he's saying. So if you get the information, then you have the choice to share or not to share. And in this case, it seems to me that if you don't share, if you choose not to share, you're going to be ejected by yourself, because we won't, and that's not part of this culture to inject people. They inject themselves, and if they come back, what will they see? Well, open arms and any kind of forgiveness, because my God, it's hard to understand sometimes, and it's a big challenge. But that's what we want, a big challenge, and so I really call what Douglas found out a great victory among many other expected victories. For example, when Mr. Kesh was saying that a cancer patient are going into the MHU and 3 minutes after, he doesn't have cancer anymore. That's the goal. That's exactly what we want. But in which other technological sector is giving themselves that kind of promises? So you have a winner, and it's coming through the Kesh Foundation. In the 70s, when the computers, of course, already then it was severely back engineered. These engineers were giving more promises that they could actually keep, and that only means that Mr. Kesh's ways are already up to date. Because if you can't find out things on your own, then why not ask questions? And when you do ask questions, you get the answers. If it's combined with any kind of shape and form into this technology.
Tobor?
Yeah.
No, I made a mistake. It wasn't CH3. It was copper oxide.
Yes.
And I made a mistake. I thought it was it's copper oxide. And calcium is good for the psoriasis. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Copper oxide.
Would you please repeat it again? Because Monique is much more on that field.
Copper oxide, I got it. Copper oxide.
Yeah, the liquid plasma of copper oxide with calcium.
The liquid plasma of calcium.
Yes. And the liquid plasma of copper oxide GAN. Sorry, sometimes I get those confused.
There's a question in the chat about how to apply that.
Like he was showing, it's like a spray bottle. You can just put it on your hands and put it on the psoriasis, or you can use like a mister.
This spray is something that I asked particularly from Monique. It's when you look at it, instead of using a cheap spray, it creates a mist like this. You hardly see it, but when you put it, you can see it, but it's a mist instead of a broad shower. And I've been waiting for this for 1.5 months, because when you guys surely remember that when Mr. Kesh was presenting sour soap fruit, it's typical Mr. Kesh, and that's one of the reasons why the guy is so lovable. It's that he was saying to you, Rick, if you remember, he said, "Shall we call it a day then? And let's pack up and go home, you know." And then during the Togo presentation, it was quite long and very many details. And then Mr. Kesh was saying, "Go back, go back, go back from this fruit and that fruit," you know. And he ended up in the fields of soursop fruit, and if you paid attention, 3 hours later, Mr. Kesh was still there, only talking about soursop fruit. Oh, come on, that's love. That's passion. And I think the 3 hours went away so fast for Mr. Kesh that he didn't realize himself. And the way he was putting into a huge puzzle the secrets in soursop fruit is so important information, because the reason why it wasn't really, you know, when you went through the passage of all the different presentations for Togo, soursop fruit was only one of them. And the reason why it was mentioned was superficially that it was used for cancer purposes, to treat cancer. So it was just one of the fruits that was mentioned. But when you realize what this fruit contains, and you can use those skills consciously, then in the end of the day, it doesn't have much to do with the fruit anymore, especially not when you transform it to liquid plasma. And it's the same thing when pH equilibrium or balance, it's just one of the measure sticks, because we do have hot and cold and sour and sweet and so on. It's as these are very important details as well.
In the different title for it would be graviola fruit or soursop fruit.
You know, very often you only hear about the orange that you one vitamin, you know, and it's so unfair to the fruit.
Can you comment? Can you comment on atomization? You know, where you spray the liquid into the air so it atomizes. I tried to use a humidifier, and I didn't get very good results. I don't know if it's because it heats the water and creates a steam, or
that's an excellent.
The sprayer worked a lot better.
That's an excellent question. The thing is that when you push the spray and it lands on the nanomaterial, you realize that the vortex from the field, from the nano, either if it's health pen, health battery, or coil, that's the conscious use of the nanomaterial itself. But when you spray these different liquid plasmas on it, the water molecules have a charge, a particularly conscious charge. And this charge has something very seriously to do with the vacuum that we're living in, loosely called oxygen. You know, it's loosely because what do you have in your oxygen? What are you breathing in and out? That's more than just oxygen. It's a difference between clear, pure air from air molecules and some poison from a big city. And when we're using the different liquid plasma for health purposes, you're actually asking the universe from its vortex to gather more of it. And the universe is very, when I'm talking about the universe, I'm talking about the vacuum. The vacuum is very, very intelligent. It knows the difference. And so when the activation of the fields are, there is no limit to it. And so when you put the different charges, why not aim for very small layers? The eyes won't see it. Only when you spray it carefully, it could be a goal in itself that it's not starting to drip, because that only means an overdose. The mist is going to help you to put more and more conscious layers on the coil, creating more and more combinations and collaboration between you and the vacuum. Because when you look at the vacuum, and you can see the difference between oxygen and nitrogen, and the hydrogen, then that's just 3 of the particles that you have in the oxygen. And it's very important to realize that nitrogen is not coming from the dirt and climbs its way up to the CO2 level. It's the opposite. Nitrogen is raining down from the sky. It doesn't climb. But so does CO2. And the CO2 molecules, the air molecules, has a natural way to clean itself if ever it carries pollution. But the way it's doing it is not necessary from one part of a country to another, but rather from one traveling from the North Pole to the South Pole. So it's a huge makeup to travel with the air molecules. But this is of course extremely important for us, because in this plasma technology we are creating CO2. And so if you look at how you made it, calling it GANs, then you're aiming for CO2 using a gas that produces a stuff that the eye can see. But it doesn't mean that the eye can see the field as well. It only takes care of the result in the fruit or in the soup. But after a while, you get to feel the field, and when it's clearing up some confusion on a photon level, it means that you can start to understand the gamma waves, the delta waves, and all the different photons that are a mixture in our vacuum. So that's actually what's going on when you put, for example, you can add electromagnetic energy into the superconductors or the coils, and you realize that it's activating the vacuum. And how does it do this? Well, it's the vortex spinning. The vortex is gathering more and more, so the field gets stronger and stronger. So that must have been what Mr. Kesh meant when the MHU is going to put cancer people in balance in 3 minutes. It's just a question of time before the MHU is so strong that the 3 minutes is going to be a reality. And so you have to kind of keep up your good work until then, and not be some disbeliever just because you don't understand the science of it. Because people are, many people are going in and out of Keshe Foundation just because they kind of build a unit and they just blow it away, saying it doesn't work. But if you're being kind to yourself and using patience, you will see that Mr. Keshe's technology is correct. But you have to help. You have to contribute to see what we can do together. And it's quite amazing to see that how many people, for any kind of reason, who choose consciously not to be in this foundation, because that's madness to me. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
A lot of what you explained maybe explains some of the data that I collected during a test. I have an older vehicle. In the United States, we have to get smog tests on our vehicles every 2 years for them to be allowed on the road. It's called a smog check. And prior to doing this on an older vehicle, I started adding, I took powdered zinc oxide GANs, I mixed it with gasoline, I was doing some flame testing, trying to see if it was soluble, which it's not soluble. And so I started adding this liquid. When it was mixed with gasoline, I used that liquid and I put it in the gas tank for a couple of months, just a small amount. And then when I took it to the smog check, the numbers came back as all zeros. There was no hydrocarbons, there was no NOx output, there was nothing. And I was like, the way it works here is it's just a pass or fail. You either pass or fail. They don't look at the data because there's too many cars to do. They just look to see if it passed or failed. But I looked at the numbers and they were basically zero because the machine can't go to zero. It's like they didn't even put the probe in the exhaust pipe to test it. but it passed. So that kind of explains how it interacts.
I can explain. Of course, that's just going to be my contribution, my explanation. It's the fact that when you're looking at all the ganses, whatever kind of gans you make, you realize that they all have a goal, and it's to make their brothers and sisters in balance. Whatever you can think of, it's about balance. So, for example, when you put liquid plasma in your petrol, in your gas, it actually means that from now on, the gas is going to be in balance. And the way plasma energy is understanding balance hardly have nothing to do with calculated outcome, because if you compare it to vaporizing molecules and air molecules, you realize at some stage it used to be water. So you're going from water to gas, and from gas to air. And this is the procedure of all the gases, depending on what you want to produce. And so if you put the liquid plasma into the tank, it's going to do many things, much more than just creating, after a while, the best gas you can have in your tank. That's not the only thing it's doing. It's also preparing the difference between the painted side of the car and the rust. So it's clear that the charge from the liquid plasma has many other secrets that it can do for us. And the balance, very, very often people think that balance is a neutral state, which is not far from the truth. It's just that when we're using the word natural, then we can understand better than neutral or zero, because natural state means that there has never been any decay on this planet, but it has been a misuse of all kinds. When you put the oil on a place on a planet that is not supposed to be, then we call it decay. Or if we're creating plastic from the silicon, and now we have too much plastic, we don't know where to put it, it's decay. But nature doesn't look at this as decay. It only takes the consequences from the misuse in the now. So when we get a bit clever on when we find the balance, what we need and what we don't need, then you see it's not only physical, it's also mental. Usually it's the other way around, first mental and then physical. And that's going to create a new human being altogether, having the attitude of understanding things much better, rather than aiming for luck and coincidences, random happenings, you know, so you don't have to take the responsibility for further views. And the balance is equal to all kinds of sides of plasma technology. As we get to follow all the different procedures, there is more balance and more sense to a third set of teeth, rather than being ignorant and don't brush your teeth. And so let's say that you're losing your teeth for illness, like Pirea or something, and you realize that it doesn't have to be. So you can start working with a greater understanding of the cells and the molecules. What kind of cells does the plants have, and what kind of cells are the animals? And so already in this technology, we have more and more doctors that are becoming veterinarians, just because you don't have to know everybody's illnesses, because the technology itself allows a procedure of healing without knowing. And sooner or later, through the gift of balance, you are going to see for yourself why you picked up an unbalanced state in the first place. And when you see this, you will call it experience, you know. So there is no right and wrong in this technology. It's only either it's working or it's not working. And so you have to, and I guess that's the reason why people are in and out. I've seen how people start to talk when they make their first decision that this is a sect, they all believe in stuffs that are not real and so on, and then they try to try to imitate Mr. Kesh, any shape or form, and it's 2 and 3 of them, or you know, and it's like understandable, but it's a bit short-minded. That's my point of view on it.
Going back to the car application, Bernie wrote in the chat, one time when emissions read 0, it were not accepted. It happens in the Philippines and in New York that the testing center did not accept it, that one should find a way for the vehicle to have a non-zero reading were accepted. And so
that's understandable, because when Monique and me were
just to clarify real quick, they weren't the numbers the numbers weren't 0. It was I believe the hydrocarbons were 0.3, so it was still above 0, and the NOx was 1. And I just understood that the machine couldn't read 0. That's probably why it was returned at the most minimal calibration number. So it wasn't 0. In fact, it was above 0.
It's a miracle.
At 1 point or so maybe that's the reason why it passed, because my intention was to pass the smog test. But
you know, Monique and me went to a place where we, before knowing the plasma technology, we went to a place, and we always knew that you, in order to get forth and tout retour, Monique, tout retour. Well, we went there and got back again. We all,
and forth.
huh?
Back and forth.
Back and forth. Sorry. We knew that we have to fill up a full tank, and that happened. We've been there so often that we always count on 1 full tank. But Monique put
a small jar of jam quantity. So it's 150 milliliters.
150 milliliters of zinc-based plasma.
Zinc, yeah.
And liquid plasma, you know, and we got back from that point laughing in the car because we had used 3/4 of the tank. And if you want to understand this, it's going to be a challenge, because there we have reason on one side where you want to understand as much as possible using logic. But there is no logic in the chemical order. You have to add the alchemic part as well. So you realize that you can use much more than just the gas as a charge in the motor. And from a logical point of view, you would say that you just add water molecules to the tank, and that's going to be very bad for the motor. Usually it is. It's going to burn out your motor, heat it up, and that's not what it's doing. It's putting every detail into balance, just a question of time, because it's, you know, people have a hard time to understand that when you're pouring in the charge, then what about the vacuum between the gas and the air in the tank? That's going to be quality air as well. So after a while, when you travel, when you don't even are needed to put liquid plasma in there, and you open the tank and you're going to see the tank is empty. But we've been there already many times in plasma technology, that there is no empty space. It just doesn't exist. And so that's when we can start to be clever, where the rest of the world would call it just a miracle, like walking on the water. But it's technology, special technology from the Keshe Foundation. You know, we kind of get to understand it more and more in a much better way than other schools.
Well, that was my thinking, and that's why I guess I should also add that I put everything that I put was from a powdered base, so I completely dried everything out so there was no water, and then I mixed it with the gasoline. But I wanted to also say that I added a little bit of CH3 powder to the radiator cooling system and a little bit of copper oxide to the engine oil, trying to create the 3 conditions within the vehicle, and the vehicles, for whatever reason, felt lighter.
Excellent.
Like the suspension, a 20-year-old vehicle now had like a brand new suspension, and it went over the bumps, and the people inside of it, like the plasma bubble, felt so much at ease.
Okay, what did you put there?
Wait a minute, before you repeat this, I have to tell that if you want this to work, you have to do because this is beautiful to your sharing there. Where every time Monique, Monique is going to tell the procedure, because it's not, you just don't pour a liquid plasma like that. It's a procedure.
Hi. What I do is, you know, those jars which are big like this of jam.
Mason jar.
Yes.
Mason jar.
Just the normal jars, but the small quantity on the market when they cannot sell you less than that, except for the hotel ones. Okay, not the hotel ones, but those jars which are like this. Okay, I fill it up with the zinc plasma liquid. But what I do is I wait until my tank is really, really well into the reserve tank. Then when I arrive at the pump, I just put all my liquid plasma, and then I fill up my tank half.
Oh, because as mechanics, we never wanted to put water in our gas tank. You know, that's why I thought that I mixed the gasoline with the dried powder would be effective.
That's the proof that it is not water. That's the liquid plasma must be transforming the water within itself, and as it gets into contact with the petrol.
No, I understand that now, but at the time I didn't. You know.
Okay.
Thank
no,
you.
but I have absolutely no problem with use. I've been doing it because we got two cars, one which is on diesel and one which is on normal, regular, normal petrol, 95 octane. And we do that in both of them and no problem whatsoever. But what I want to know is what you do, what's the other things I've got to write down.
So the radiator, right?
Yes.
The radiator, the cooling system.
Yeah.
I add CH3 to that because it's an iron-based
Yes.
plasma GANs. And then for the engine oil, I add copper oxide, a copper-based.
Okay, how much?
Just a small. I just added, you know, a very small
Like
amount
this.
of powder, and then
powder. I don't have any. See, Turbine has some powders. Maybe I can steal some powders from Turbine.
And so with the oil, I just took a little, a small amount, and mixed it up with some oil, and then I poured it into the engine. The same. So with the radiator, I just put it in some distilled water because I wanted to start out with the purest GANs and then mix it with whatever I was going to do. At the time, I didn't want water involved in the process.
And it's like a spoonful of it, of this powder?
I would say a couple milligrams.
Okay.
A couple milligrams. Just for testing. You know, I didn't want to overdo it.
Okay. I'm on it. Thank you very much.
So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Turbine is taking over again.
Well, I guess what I'm doing now is going to be very important in the coming days. Since Rick was telling that Mr. Kish is giving out the blueprint this afternoon, this is how I'm making the batteries. We call it the BAT caps. BAT is short for batteries, and caps is capacitors, so that everybody knows. And so this is kind of a needle, and it's open. It looks like this only because it's easier to nano-coat the whole wires when you take them, when you kind of unwire them, and then this is a plastic from another wire. It's just that the thickness fits, so I don't have to buy all the socks and burn them or you heat them up in order to have a new plastic structures around. And this is cheaper, faster, and better. You know? And so what I'm doing is that I prepare the GANS mixture with a small, really small amount of lead GANS, but then I actually used 2 different irons. I'm creating more iron now. Coming from this is turning out to be completely orange, and this one is darker brown. These are iron, and then the copper and the zinc. And I'm of course making more zinc here. You see the level of zinc is going to fill up this one nicely. And
Tobor,
this is gold and this is silver. Yes.
what do you feel by adding air to the process improves? Does it just pop the popcorn, so to speak?
Did you say air?
Yeah, like a air bubbler. If you add an air bubbler to the GANS making process.
Oh, that's a good question. Let me explain. When you realize the difference between air molecules and water molecules, we can actually put those 2 combinations together. When Douglas is saying that when he's using earth, it's not like if there is a equal way to treat electricity, and it's the same trick to understand that when you're making this combination, creating iron GANS, for example, the classical way by a nano-coated plate and connected to the iron, then you realize that it's not an electric procedure where you plug plus to minus or plus and minus to the earth. This is related to the air molecules forcing the water molecules to dance. So it's a circle. It's a everlasting circle until you finished your GANS process. So you kind of force the air molecules to work your way through the water molecules, and this is a natural procedure. And there is hardly any hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen as the basics of the air that is floating around in the soup, helping for all the procedure that is needed to realize when you're finished your, because even if you put air bubbles into it, you have to look carefully at the results. So the result is when you put bubbles into it, it only depends on if it gives you more GANS, and even if it does, it's not necessarily quality GANS. If you compare the procedure over and over again, and you realize that you can fill this up if you only make zinc GANS, you can use time and realize that you have a relationship with all the GANSes that you're producing. But if you're putting air bubbles into it, you kind of don't want to touch it because it's working on its own. But at the same time, the natural procedure is not to put any kind of motor or unnatural way to treat the molecules. So of course, bubble can be natural, but then again, would you dare to take the risk? It's the same thing with if you put a battery to help the water molecules to work for you. The reason why, when putting batteries into it, like let's say 1.5 voltage, the reason why the molecules in the GANS process have a tendency to get like small flakes that you can't open again. It means that the charge is misunderstood from the water molecules. So the water molecule is going to survive, and the GANS is going to survive, and they're going to separate, and it's not going to be a fluffy, sky-like result. On the contrary, it's actually GANS that you can throw away, because the charge has become magnetic in nature, in its own nature, which is pretty much the same chaotic situation, while not understanding how to nanocoat either, because the nano has a charge as well, and there's a particular charge from the nano that we want to have. So that's the link between both of them as a risk. Very often those mistakes are happening when you feel that you're in a hurry. And so it's a good point not to be in a hurry when it comes to plasma technology, because you're going to deliver anyway. This is not depending on one day. Very often, especially in the GANS production, you have to be patient. It's a vertigo that means a lot if you want to have results.
Can you speak about the contribution of the CH bond from the plastic that the tub adds to the overall process?
Oh, please, so say again.
Can you speak about the plastic of the tub when you make your GANs, how it contributes
Yes,
to the CH bond?
yeah. Twice or three times.
We couldn't hear you. Your microphone was.
Sorry.
Yeah. Hand over the mic.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah. When Mr. Kesh was saying 3 times that you can put your plates outside your container, but if you do, make sure that the plastic is correct. So it's not a question of thin plastic or thick plastic. It's the question of plastic itself. And the silicone, we're not using the silicone. Like, for example, creating glue. We're using the skill from the silicone, the properties from the silicone, as much as the gas procedure going on between the salt water and the nanomaterial. And the fields, when it comes to the recognition between the natural state of silicone from the very procedure of making the GANS material itself, that's another usage of a silicone. But when you put it into salt water, the salt water's natural state of silicone is going to play with the container made of plastic that has the skill of the properties of silicone as well. So it's going to be like a mirror. Silicone in a physical state and silicone in a non-physical state, more like photons. So this is important for further understandings, because the subatomic particles in any kind of GANS are creating crystals. And during the process where the GANS are becoming crystals, you're going to wait for 1,000 years for GANS to become crystals. So when you empty your GANs, then the air, the oxygen can start to play with the rest of the GANs, and that's going to create a mountain of new GANs coming from crystals. They look like crystals, and this is what the property of GANs has common with the nanomaterial itself, because the nanomaterial are either creating gold as an outcome or coal as an outcome or monatomic particles. But of course, in this case, the reason why monatomic particles are called gold, monatomic gold, is because it has the same value. So it's easy to create gold of monatomic particles if you want to make gold. But it's also very useful for health purposes or traveling from one dimension to another. That's very often, what's most mentioned when it comes to monatomic particles, that it has the skill to go so fast from an atom state to a subatomic state and then disappear into another dimension. And in quantum physics, the statements has been where did it go and what happened to it? Just because it's a door between two dimensions. So when the subatomic, when the atoms are coming back to show you whatever disappeared, if it's a glass of water or anything else, then it was always through the passage between atom to a subatom, and why not monoatomic structure? But that's not the only way, because that's the skill that you can get from all kinds of photons. And that's the whole purpose of photons, to see that now we can start to understand the difference between energy and matter. So everything that has a matter state, most of what I know of starts with electrons, from the passage from photons to electrons. And then you can see the result in atomic matter that everything is built upon. And so, of course, where does the decay disappear? It's not that it's disappearing; it's transforming to subatomic particles, and then it finds its way back home. So Mother Earth is taking back what she lost, and that's not only petrol. It's all kind of decay. Mother Earth is taking it back and put it back into order. But especially in plasma technology, we get to help ourselves to help the planet, because even if we don't understand subatomic particles and what a whole spectrum of submatter only means that it's on its way to a kind of a transformation. And so, for example, ghost DNA is by nature photons, much more than electrons, because it's just the light from the photography's results. But that light is a natural state. So even if you lose a leg, the leg is still going to be there. And now we have a second word, phantom pain. It is not a phantom. It's something that's there, belonging to the photon world, much more than to the physical world. And it's the same thing how we're healing. It's not natural to kill cells, even if they are full of cancer. It's natural to put them in order, in balance, put them back and not kill. Kill is unnatural in the universe. Nobody's killing each other in the universe except for for some kids who doesn't get it.
So can you explain the process when you use a carbon rod as opposed to a nano-coated plate, how that creates...
You know, let's say that the difference is in what you want, not the result itself, because the result is not going to stop to ask, what do you want? And carbon, it's very interesting to see the difference between carbon and crystals, because you kind of get it on your menu, that energy, everything has its basic shape and energy, and all the ganses is just a question of geometry, much more than a physical soup, just because it's gas-based, coming from the property from the nano, salt water, and whatever mixture you have on the other side, kind of metal. And every time you make a GANS, it's not going to do anything to you unless you add some consciousness to it. What do you want? And then the next question is, how much of what you decided to create do you want? And so when you allow the natural procedure to see that when you made a Magrav unit, you were actually imitating your body, because the body has physical atomic purpose as much as a photon purpose. And in this case, we are all about to transmute. So you better understand subatomic particles, because when the carbon-based human being is transformed to a light human being, that kind of light has a secret in the DNA. So that's why I was mentioning that you rather stop looking at the DNA as a screw mechanism, because it's not. It doesn't look like a screw. You rather take the habit to look at the DNA as a serpent with a head and a tail. And the whole goal of the DNA is that the head is biting the tail. So it's creating a circle. Because from the perspective, when we look up in the sky, it's going to be a dance, a circular dance. And that's when you get the relationship between clockwise and anti-clockwise. It's got any, the torsion. Torsion means a twist. And what kind of twist is that? You can understand it if you repeat clockwise and anti-clockwise. But that's an early definition, because it's not clockwise and anti-clockwise. It's a dance. And the reason why you better aim at the dance is because sometimes you will get to know what's in the vortex, and sometimes you will think of it as a mystery. Because even if you get to see the vortex from the field that you're creating, then how many vortexes are you aware about? So, for example, it was amazing to hear that Ali thought it was absolutely natural to talk about speed for every GANS, especially zinc, copper, and iron. The speed. So that's of course that's astrophysics, but did he mention light, the speed of light, or the speed of sound, or another kind of speed that we haven't found out yet, or doesn't have necessarily a familiar connection with? And if all the ganses, it's been clear now that the copper GANs they look like pentagons. But if you look clear at the pentagons, you find out that even if it's pentagons, none of them are repeating. So in nature, you even if it's snowing, not one snow particle is the same. So it's the same thing with this natural soup called GANS. that even if you are into geometry, isn't it typical that if you put GANs, copper GANs and zinc GANs, you get the third element. So you don't get a heptagon and a pentagon. You get the third one as well, always. And you can tear the energy out of it as much as the speed out of it, or healing purposes, the inflation from the molecules and the cells. So of course, the most exciting level is to see, for example, that if you use your consciousness with the understanding of amino acid, then you realize why Mr. Kesh were telling during the period where we were in Dubai that forget about stem cells, just throw stem cells in the garbage, because when you approach stem cells, then you hardly get to know particular skills of the DNA found here and there from one organ to another. So it's not going to give you much. But if you take stem cells away and you put amino acid instead, then we can play with two different areas, one from the GANs and one from the natural organs. Now we can use ghost DNA and start to rebuild a new body, as much as, which has nothing to do with cloning. You know, we don't need to clone whatsoever, because it's a natural way of understanding the technology. I keep on talking.
Yeah, thank you too, Bjorn. Your endless knowledge. Wow.
Yes,
it helps, to get a different perspective on all of this. Different than
yeah.
Different.
I had 5 hours yesterday with the Polish people, and
yeah,
they. I'm kind of creating pictures so that people can have a relationship with their own experiences. Without pictures and examples, it's so hard to get.
So you didn't have a whiteboard or anything?
Sorry?
You didn't have a whiteboard to draw on, or?
Sorry?
Did you have a whiteboard to draw on?
Oh yes, yesterday I'm going to make because I have seen. I mentioned, for example, that cells are a bit tricky, more tricky than molecules, water molecules. Water molecules referring to the body. They're easier to treat than cells. And when you put the molecule into the cell and you call them atoms, then you lost your view, because it's too late. In quantum physics, people have been asking, what is the reason why a glass stays a glass? There is no reason for it. When you look at the shape, there is no reason why things are why my silhouette is like this all the time. More older and older, of course, with this technology, is getting younger and younger. But the reason is consciousness. If you kind of buy your ticket into the material world, it's to measure things. Measure what's heavy and what's light, or soft and hard, and so on. That's the experience. But if you get the feeling that this is a insane matrix, and you realize that it's all an illusion, then the illusion has to be understood from the photons, from the light and the energy. Everything is energy. So it's kind of too late to call things atoms, because it's not going to help you if you cannot see the difference between molecules and cells. Cells is a bit too late as well. It has a charge in them, cells. It has one DNA deciding when you're going to die and how long time you're going to live. So dead cells literally look like shit. The procedure through the nanocoating in the stomach, when it's coming out, the reason why it's brownish is because it's a whole bunch of dead cells. And that explains and proves that whatever we eat is just 23-24% at the max that the body really keep.
That's right, yeah.
So what does the body keep? It's energy, taking the energy from the nanocoating. Before the procedure of digestion, sorry.
He was actually digesting his words right now.
Yeah.
But it would be fantastic to contribute with all kinds of questions. Really.
Yeah, Craig Richardson here says, you're such an engaging speaker, Torbjorn. It's a real pleasure to listen to your understandings. We should have these open forums more often.
Thank you.
Why do you think I'm with him all the time?
Yeah.
No, it's a
continuous flow.
The thing is that 1 year ago, I was a loner with some few friends, and I was accusing my art, because I was thinking that if I'm supposed to be an artist, then the art is taking so much time that I can't be social. And that became a habit for many, many, many years, 40 years, you know. And then Mr. Kesh came around, and I understood every word he said, and I didn't see the consequences of understanding what he said until later. Because when I had my first speech on plasma energy, it was 7 hours in a row, in front of 40 people, 43 people, I think.
43.
And that's when I realized I know more than I know. Because people were electric, asking all kinds of questions, and
Norwegian.
And I kind of know things, I think, just by collecting what's in the air, you know, because it began when I was about to make zinc GANs. I think that the fields from the GANs were telling me to breathe differently when it comes to problems or challenges. And to see the difference actually between problems and challenges. If things becomes a challenge, you can be passionate about the resistance. But if you see it as problems, one has a tendency to give up. And when I started to breathe differently, I could see that I kind of bypassed myself during the breathing mechanism, and I mean to bypass that. When I tried, you know, it was just different breathing than ever before, not knowing exactly how it works, but I started to breathe differently, and then suddenly solutions was in the air, all kinds of solutions. like awakening, you know, and they were physical. None of them were like a dream. They were physical solutions of things that I was wondering about. And I was thinking, I was giving myself a promise that if I can keep on breathing like that, rather than going back to the old way of breathing, where problems used to stay problems, I could start to see the consequences of understanding whatever kind of challenges I was into. And very often I use the breath if I don't know. And the breath will tell me that I do know. And so the old way to give up is non-existent. It doesn't exist. And it's a year ago when the problems went away. So now it's more ironic when I don't understand, because it's quite funny from time to time not to understand. Of course, depending on what kind of problem or challenge you have.
So then can we say there's some correlation between the atomization and when you breathe into the lung and how that interacts?
Yes, it's like oxygen and hydrogen, you know, full of power and then completely naked and empty, you know, neutral field. And you actually, it's like, okay, let's say that the vacuum is intelligent. That's not enough. What kind of intelligence is it? And it seems to me that since it's so colorful, you can actually start to control your challenges. That you can make a kind of a field, like an agreement. That, let's say that obviously you're much more into service to others than service to self. Then that's going to become a habit. That you're not doing much for yourself except for laughing, brushing your teeth, or having a bath, you know, simple things with that you will start to really appreciate. And when it comes to the products, you kind of enter a field where you have all kind of help. Like, for example, I was doing some very important nanocoating, and for me it was important. So I could see that there were what people would call orbs jumping into the tank. And now there were 6 or 7 light bulbs into the tank, and I was thinking, that's not a good traveling. That you better get out of there, because this is going to get very sour, you know. And then I got a message, kind of a telepathic message, that I didn't know what I was talking about, because this is so intelligent. It's got so much to give, that it's not the question of helping to nanocoat. They can help much more on other levels, and that's only orbs. I get to see people. They look like people anyway. 3 or 4 of them studying me or studying what I'm doing. Most part what I'm doing, but they don't tell me much. But they give me energy, all kinds of energy, not necessarily positive or negative, but all kinds of energy. And messages, clear messages that I actually hear. So it's not, I doubt that it's God's voice, but it's
With good intention.
yes, it's about love. It's about it's very solution oriented, very far from giving up the tasks. It's about passion. It's about kindness, a particular kind of kindness, because people in general, if I use the word kindness, people would think that, oh, you're so kind. I know what kindness means. That's not the kindness I'm talking about. It's not the kindness I was mentioning about the sink either. This is an attitude. The kindness doesn't come alone, and it's hard to explain. But it's everything becomes gentle. You're part of the universe, and the universe is a part of you, and you feel that as kindness. You can be kind to yourself, because then you can be then you have that gift to share with the universe. That kind of kindness, and see what's in the fake emptiness, because there is no empty space. And the good way that Mr. Haraim Nassim is talking about, that there is no empty space. We should all have a particular experience to how it's full, what it's full of, the space, and try to see through the illusion, using your discernment and your kindness and understanding. And there, it seems to be no finish or defined beginning or end to it. So that's how you find out that you're part of something, and that's the same kind of kindness. Inclusive, Every time you choose kindness, it's for free, and suddenly you can treat all levels of kindness. You can recognize that it's all you, mirroring yourself.
Like we see in Mr. Cash's body language, when he's pacing back and forth, trying to explain to us, and you can see all his body breathing that type of kindness. It's wonderful to observe, and we should be so, so grateful. And Jackie, and Clint.
Hello, everybody.
Oh.
That's Carolina's voice.
That's Carolina's voice.
Good evening, everyone. From everywhere. Thank you for your nice words and presentation.
Yeah, I think that's why I understand now how the carbon rod is actually able to produce more amino acid than it seems like my process with the nano-coated copper. It just produces a lot of amino acid on the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jordan.
Hello, Carolina.
Hi. Please let them know to keep all the amino acids, because in a tiny little budget, tiny little amount.
Carolina, what are you saying? I don't hear.
Very hard to hear you, Caroline.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Better? Sorry.
Much better.
There was something wrong on my phone. Don't forget, please, not to throw your amino acids away. Keep every single one of it. Wash them, keep them, treasure them, because in the near future, you will learn more about how to apply it, because let's say if you have the right mixture of amino acids, you can feed a whole city with it. That's how powerful amino acid is. But it's just an understanding which is about to come in the near future. How to apply it to make sure nobody has to go hungry again. Nobody needs to die of starvation. and keep it well. Don't throw them away and harvest them very well. And I think I have to say thank you to your wonderful teaching today.
You don't mean me, Caroline, are you?
Excuse me?
You're talking to all of us, right?
Yes, of course, I do.
I don't see the difference in reality between a dialogue and a monologue, you know.
No, we don't. We always speak to everybody and to every person who is present in this event. And we are gonna go very fast forward. I have noticed they have started posting nice pictures on Facebook from the group. I've seen Sandy and her husband. I've seen other people. It would be nice if they could put their names as a tag with it, that people know who is who, because we know them from name and we know them from their pictures on Facebook or in Zoom, but we don't really know the face behind the name. It would be very nice if people could start coming forward with their picture, who they really are, that we talk to an individual instead of to just a picture or a flower or a child, if it is possible. So the pictures which are coming up now from the trip from all the way to arrive in Washington, it will be nice if you could identify who is who, if that is possible. If not, we respect the privacy. There's no problem. Mr. Keshe is going to come on now. And then
Okay. Thank you, Caroline.
you're welcome. We're trying to get him in, Rick. Just give him a minute. You might have to accept him. If you see him coming, just let me know, Rick. He's not coming in, Rick.
He's not.
I found it. I found him and I promoted him. It's okay.
Okay, thanks, Vince.
Thank you.
170 viewers, so I have to scroll quite long.
Nearly 200 of them. Yes, good afternoon, good morning to you. We join you now and see what is the position. Where are we, and has he arrived at destination point? Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. Keshe. All I have right now is for pictures. There's a picture of on his trip of a bridge. Not sure which bridge that is. Is that in Washington,
Reddit.
Pennsylvania, perhaps? Washington, PA? And
That's 8:13:8. Don't have a time on it. Flint, are you in touch with him?
Yes, I'm trying to get them to come in here so they can advise where they are.
Like I said, another picture that, yes, that must have been from yesterday, actually, not today. I thought they were from today. So that would have been from St. Louis, probably, those two pictures. I just got sent them by Flint. You don't
Yes,
have,
there's more, but I'll be putting them up in the site. I'm just trying to get that all worked out right now.
okay. And there's no live feed from your video or anything you want to show, Mr. Kesh, right now? Is that true?
No, yeah, I'm blocked. There's nothing to show.
They're about an hour and a half away, it looks like.
So we gotta hang on. What's this? Okay, that's a very funny one. Can you put this on the?
I sent it to Rick.
Yeah, have you?
No.
Rick, Caroline is going to send you something with a very good sense of humor. Now have a look, and if you decide, you can share it. What we're going to do, we gotta wait for this. This is what we call the lies and the cheats, which has happened. But you look at it as a point of sense of humor. We understand what we're going to do. We know a large number of Chinese are in the background waiting. I have to address the Chinese community very direct, because the energy technology which we're going to release, and you will receive it. I have to explain to you something directly. Keshe Foundation leader team met less than half an hour ago, and as it is our way, we do our work. We took the members' decision in how and if we are going to release the blueprint tonight. The way we operate, we just take a vote and the people explain the reasons why they say it's got to be done or not. There's about 10, 11 of us on this group, which are the people, the backbone of the Keshe Foundation, so their decisions is counted heavily. The only person missing was Rick, because he was entertaining the live show on the live stream. The decision is made by the leading team of the Keshe Foundation is that tonight we shall release the blueprint. We wait for the demonstration in Washington, and with more or less without any opposition in the leadership team, we will release the blueprint. I have to explain to you the following points. This blueprint is a hybrid system. It is not the latest. We are developing it into its final position in the next week maximum, as we said. We had two choices: to meet obstruction or whatever, or release it and let the development come in. You have to understand the system will work in any case. The system is a working unit. You can immediately apply it and build it anywhere in the world. What we are trying to do is we are bringing parts of it, which is a hybrid, into total plasma. That's why it's called a hybrid system. The technology is complete. If any of you have a maggrav system, if you can build according to the instruction which is going to be released tonight, the parameters and the pieces of it, by tomorrow morning you'll become an independent man from energy. I have said this many times. This was the aim of my work starting 40 years ago. As a nuclear physicist, I could see nothing but harm in the nuclear industry. I could see nothing but abuse. I could see nothing but waste of energy and capital and investment, except for a few to have the titles and the pleasures of literally robbing their nation. We have achieved the last goal, and this is the beginning of the new goal. This is the beginning of a huge change. Those of you who start the hybrid, you can go to the house once you built it and literally switch off the main and say goodbye to your governments in supplying you with energy. 3 to 5 kilowatt, we are developing it, and I'm sure in the next 2 or 3 weeks, those of you who have a better understanding of the situation will develop more. We still market the power generator as a price we have put. The only proviso I put on it is for those who build, those who build the generators, those who start making the generators, we ask you one thing. Put back where you took from, that we can give more out. Very few, maybe 1 million, 2 million of you will build the systems. The rest need to be taught, the rest needs to be done. We leave the process very free. We don't ask for donation. We ask you to commit yourself to a payment to the Keshe Foundation Research Center that we can carry on. If you save 1,000 or 10,000 or 2,000 euro per year on the food, on the energy, and the other things which come with this process, put back where it came from, that we can give more. We finance heavily different operations around the world, and the time has come, as the family, everybody put something on it, that we can extend it. If you save yourself 2,000 euro per year on electricity alone, put 10% back into the foundation, where we can put back into the society and we can support it. In time, none of these is needed. But at the moment, we have to bring the African nations, the South American nations, South Asian continent into operation very rapidly. Otherwise, the whole problem of the past will carry on. We need to be able to supply these countries with technology and the material to be able to do it, and the teaching to be able to do it. We need to bring these conditions under one condition, under one process. So our job, more or less, is not finished. It begins tonight. We start structuring a new life, a new way for humanity. We start the change. For the first time, from the first breath the man took on this planet, we make man independent of this planet. This is a huge, huge change for humanity. Those of you who understand it. We always had to depend on the wood. We had to depend on the fish. We had to depend on the fruit to feed us, to give us warmth, to give us energy, to give us water. For the first time tonight, we make man free as a stars in the universe. If you understand how to apply this technology, and we guide you, it's not that we give it to you and we run away. We guide you step by step. Even this morning, I start teaching you how to feed yourself once you have the systems in hybriding the two together. We have to understand, for the first time, with this, the release of plasma technology tonight, in its infancy, we make man a man of universe. We should remember one thing. We have to follow the ethos of universe. Not to harm anyone, not to destroy anything. Because from now on, we have whatever we need. I teach you to the last point. I teach you everything needed that you become independent anywhere in the universe and not alone on this planet. This is the beginning. 14th of August 2016 will be remembered by many people around the world, the night when the man became free. Free from the shackles of the energy and supply and his fear of his own death and demise through not having. Now we have everything. It's just now we have to teach you how to have everything. How to create, it's getting too hot here. How to create food out of the energy of the materials you have. How to create clothing out of the systems you have. How to overcome disasters. If you think the floods, the earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions and the other conditions we see on this planet is harsh, my dear fellow man, you have not seen what the space is about to throw at you. I have to make you ready for totality when you are in the space. So there is a transition time. There is a time of change. There is a time to understand. We have asked for Universal Council direct involvement upon agreement of the world peace on this planet. So by releasing the energy tonight, the blueprint, I ask you one thing. Get on your computers. You've been benefiting by the knowledge. You've been enlightened by the knowledge. Now share the knowledge. Send the blueprint of this new hybrid. We update it on a daily basis. Send the blueprint of this free energy system to every company on this planet who produces electricity. General Electric and the rest. Westinghouse and the rest. Every electricity board, every company which is involved in production of energy, send it to Tesla Corporation. Plaster it all over internet, every energy unit, and put the video of Douglas in the presentation with it, that they can see it is not just a drawing. We have to spread this knowledge as fast as possible, beyond the imagination. The time is tonight. The decision has been made by the leadership of the Keshe Foundation team. We wait till Douglas arrives. We wait till we understand. We wait till we understand if agreement or passage to the White House has been made. We were told by one of our people that they're organizing it to be shown this week to the White House. It's too late. They can see it after the whole lot have seen it. What we asked to do, if we do not get access to be shown or deliver the knowledge tonight or today, we assemble the system tonight at a given point in Washington, and live everyone can test it who's around this table. Once it's set up, you can do whatever you like with it. And once we get the go-ahead from our leadership on the spot, which is what comes from Arman, we will release. Arman has the key to tell us to release it. He's happy, people present are happy. Could it be in the hotel room? Could it be in the hotel lobby? Anywhere you assemble it and you can show it. Arman gives us the green light. The internet lines will open up. This is where we're going. This is our target. We stay up in Europe. I know the Chinese are up. They will be with us. The rest of the humanity is with us. We have a large number of people around the world waiting for this to be released. I stay quiet till the time Douglas arrives. We have to see what we receive on the ground if our people get access to show, which we don't think has been done, because there's a lot of knickknacks with getting into the Washington to do it the way they wanted it. They are trying to get it in, and if it's succeeded, we do. If not, we came to take charge. We didn't come here to be showing, sir, we are here to show you. We are there to take position, and we are there to take leadership. Whoever has the knowledge, whoever has the technology, leads the technology. And we are the only organization who can do it. We have it, and in number we are large enough that we can support it worldwide. Please, as I said, the minute we release it, spend 2, 3 hours, 10 hours, whatever, send it to everyone with a video that it works and they become energy independent. It will take people about a week. Those who made it in cores, they'll take them maybe a few days more to assemble everything together and start reporting. So sometimes by Thursday, we expect the number of Keshe Foundation supporters around the world to start releasing their energy system hybrid. And then the roller starts. The snowball will go, and we see where we go. You got to realize that we do not depend on any nation. We depend on one thing. We depend on being correct, delivering correct, and at the same time making sure that the teaching will go ahead in a correct way. Tonight, you will have what you've been asking for a long time from the foundation. Energy unit, which can give you everything that you need, from shelter to food to clothing to energy to water and even motion in space. Because without the plasmatic energy, you cannot enter in the world of the plasma of the universe. We start showing the prelude to this, as I said, with Douglas running motors on the plasma condition, and now you have to develop it. From now on, you become the pioneers of the space. You become the pioneers of saving humanity from the shackles. We expect a massive losses in the exchange market. We expect a massive losses in shares in the market, especially with the petroleums. Especially with the petroleum organizations, with all the companies which are involved with the generators, producing generators, all these fake fans across the continent and everywhere else. We expect a massive losses in the motor industry. The system is getting adjusted for car industry. I've seen an entry this morning on the Innovation Center. You can connect it, multiply it, it gives you enough that you can run cars with it. Or you can increase the gauges of your wires that you can carry huge amount of power. You're tapping into universal energy, so there is no limit into it. The only limit is your comprehension of the knowledge and your understanding of its application. It has huge amount of implication. You got to realize when people become independent that the governments cannot force them, people do not need to be governed. This is the end of leadership, end of governmentship. In next 3 to 6 months, when one after another collapses, we will teach heavily, we support our teaching heavily, we show you how to make food and everything else out of it. We put you in the process that you can walk in with a cancer and you walk out with no cancer. You can walk it, hunger, and walk out with no hunger. You choose the taste of the food which you want to satisfy yourself with. You'll find out even obesity will not exist, because the body will take what it needs, and what it doesn't need, it gives out. This process of technology will change the course of humanity, and I'm glad that all of us, we are part of it. We worked together, we stood a lot of trials, we stood a lot of assaults, we stood a lot of misconduct, but a lot of people. Just wait, I received the communication, I have to read what it's talking about. We understand there is a concern that by releasing today we can create a fiasco, but this is not a problem. This is the problem for the others. We gave enough time. We released the technology tonight. The blueprint has been shared across a number of people this afternoon. that in case anything needs or any blockage, over now maybe about 20 people have received the data, the blueprint of the first hybrid, and then the updated one accordingly as we develop or you develop it with us, will go to the full process. So we will release the technology today. It will be shown today. If there is any blockage, if we do not get a green light from Armin that we can go ahead, we will release it, that there is no blockage. The problem is we don't need to be told what to do. We need to say what we need to have, which is freedom, availability to every aspect of the knowledge, and teaching and understanding. Exactly this week, as I've said before, is a year when I met with the Saudi prince. And to him, it was a joke. It will never happen. Now I wonder if there are many princes will be left. The oil industry will start its collapse. Once you start releasing this across the planet, people will start making it. Unplugging every 1 million brings huge, huge pressure of the nations. African nations are the winners, without a shadow of a doubt. And this is a pleasure for me to say. They have not made commitment, and the banking system will collapse with it. When the electricity companies cannot pay their bills for the generators they rob the others from to build, they have to be paid. The banks will go bankrupt. 2005, 2008 will be child play in the world of finance. But those of you who manage to build the systems as fast as you can, you stay safe. The prime concern at any condition like this is hunger, water, and energy. Your system has all of it. You have everything you need with it. You have the energy. We teach you more in depth how to create water. We teach you more in depth how to feed yourself. And if the pressure is on, we teach you how to produce gold. Paper money in the coming time will have no value. What we commit ourselves to do will have value. I commit myself to serve humanity to the last breath, that they come free from the shackles of the pressures of what is today. You commit yourself as a doctor. I give my time 1 day a week, 2 days a week to see every man who's sick. I have a bad news, and that is most of the pharmaceuticals will be shut down. Most of farming will be shut down. Monsanto will be mooned. Because this is the beauty of it. I see Benjamin in the background. Benjamin, tonight you received a gift you've been waiting for Atomic in Ghana. The same goes with a lot of other people who've been waiting. We know the Chinese are in the background waiting for this. You will receive the gift of life tonight. We see if we need to prove anything that allows the Chinese leadership to open the doors of the Keshe Foundation within the structure of the universities. The numbers are enormous. We are not 1 or 2 or a few. There are millions of people who are there, who have done the test, who have developed different aspects, and they enjoy doing it. We bring everything together. When we come back in September, the teaching is primarily on how to develop different aspects of the technology for the need of the man. Because we've done enough of teaching how to make nanomaterial, the GANs and the rest. The problem is not us anymore. The problem is those who created the problem for themselves. Do we need plastic cup to drink water, or do we walk within the cup and we receive everything we need? Do we need to have mental institutions to keep the people with Alzheimer's and the others, or do we walk these people across the passage of the plasma field and we find the normal people like us? Is being handicapped ever be considered by man? These are all the territories we will cover in the coming time. I have committed myself to the freedom of man, and I'll see that to the last breath of my life. The only people who can fail humanity is humans themselves. Do we need to believe in religions and the people who abuse the soul of the man? I say no. We are not atheists, but we know the fact that we are part of it. There is a question, is the meetup at Washington University delayed? Yes, that is still on the way, but now they arrive in Washington. Just be patient. You have to understand, Douglas with his wife and young child have been driving for nearly 24 hours. Just be patient. I'm going to go quiet. We'll wait till we get a message from Douglas has arrived. We wait and see if our people and the security in the background who are negotiating with Washington, that our people can go in, or they can show it. We don't need to go to the White House. We don't need the White House. There is too much blood in that building. It's more red than the white. But we came to take position as the new nation, as the head of the nation, the United States, headed in Washington. We take our position. We dictate our terms. Equality and end of war. In the next 48 hours, in the next 72 hours, we start teaching heavily how to create systems to literally paralyze all the armies across the world. 72 hours is enough for world leaders to come to an agreement how to handle. It says, is there any mainstream news media involved? We don't need it. That's the people who blocked us all the time. That's why we became so strong within the network. We are not underground. You're so open that the media news comes and sits with us, listens, and then they've been told not to report. Unfortunately, their involvement brings their own demise very soon. I teach you in the coming days how you will produce systems at a cost of few dollars that blocks any kind of present radar technology, which in fact it means total paralyzing the whole of the naval, air force, and the armies of the world in one go. I give you an advice. All of you know what to do. Remember the orange? Do you remember the orange? How you transfer the energy of the orange into the cup and you drank it and it was a cup? My friends, get hold of a small computer, break it open, a calculator, break it open. Now, put a chip in a caustic and make the GANs of the chip. Then put that GANs in the dynamic cores. You create a gravitational magnetic field of every chip on this planet. Some of you might lose computer. Some of you might not lose a computer. But the end product is no computer will work. Now, if you can target this in a given zone, especially like in South China Sea by the Chinese Army, good morning, American Navy. Where would you like us to tow you to? We are not revolutionaries. As I said, we are evolution. We start a new evolution and everything has to be on the peaceful terms. You are a man of peace. But you have access to a gun. Get yourself a bullet. Get the gunpowder. Make a caustic of it. Now you know how you can dismantle every gun on this planet. Every bullet will not fire. Disarming will take a few minutes, which has taken a man centuries to build it to kill each other. As I said, I start teaching. You got to understand, when you target military targets to bring them to the point of peace, you have to find what specific material is used in that structure. All you need to do is to create this balance, plasma, and it will not work. Those of you who started the process understand very clearly how to do. Disarming the world armies is a priority, because then the energy of killing will go into energy of developing. It's the biggest leakage in the structure of the humanity. Arms for killing has to stop, and we started today. I will start teaching you how, where you can get hold of even the pivots, which is used for certain aircraft, military aircraft, can be replicated as a GANs. Then where would you like the rivet to open up in? I know all the ways to bring the world leaders and the governments to submission of peace. And from tonight we start. Because now we have the energy supply to make you independent, that you can stand, that in a coming time we can bring all the changes together. The problem is not us anymore. The problem is them, what are they going to do with all the wrongs they've done and they try to cover. As I said, I've asked the people in the background who work with us to start planning the universal one nation police force. We need that to bring the people who've done wrong into justice. Otherwise, they'll walk away and will carry on with the same. We do not need judges and juries to try to convince the international, what we call one nation police, has enough evidence of the wrongdoing, is equal to complete imprisonment. They have to be open. The documents has to be open, that it doesn't become a mayhem. World leaders, directors of the companies, directors of the armed companies, religious leaders, the head of banks who created the chaos, we invite you to somewhere very near you for a lifetime of entertainment. You can entertain each other. You planned it, you delivered it, now together enjoy it. It has to be correct, it has to be transparent. It cannot be by accusation. We've taken the direction of the leadership by delivering. Then we have to be correct. There got to be no revenge. Spend all the time in developing new technologies. Spend all your energy in making life easy for every man from next door to next door, irrespective of color, race, religion. It is very interesting. Today I was watching the Olympics. In England, I lived for 29 years. Blacks. In America, the same blacks are frowned at, imprisoned, accused, or whatever for the color. And the man wins the 10,000 meter run, black. And he says, I've done that for my country. And he's British. I would have said, I've done it for my nation, which is one nation. To him, the color of white doesn't exist. The nation, to be proud of what they've achieved, was more important. The black has understood that, but the white skin has not yet. We wait till Douglas comes, and as I said, the decision has been made by the Keshe Foundation leadership that we release the blueprint tonight. The hybrid blueprint will be released tonight, and in next week, next few days, we release the miniature version, which is the size of very, very little, very small, pocket size. I've been told everything for it is done. We should be testing it shortly. We are converting the hybrid part into the plasmatic part. We already done this, just testing labs, which we know will be successful. But this way, you can start the process of the development of the free energy. And then as we teach you, you convert that section of the hybrid into the plasmatic. And then within the next few weeks, you receive a complete plasmatic. You can go up to 30 to 50 kilowatts on these systems. If you do the wiring correctly, you can go up to 1 megawatt in a more industrial size. We'll release the technology for that. In reality, you will not need the 3-phase because you can connect all the phases and they take equal amount from the same system. You have to understand how to adapt your system. In conversion systems, those of you who have microwave, understand the process of microwave, you should be able to change the use of the plasma as it comes in, instead of the heat, into the food range, that in the microwave you deposit the energy of the food which is needed. We have a lot of tools, we just need a little bit of adoption. We adopt it, we can use it. You put a glass of water in the microwave, it's not a microwave anymore, it's in a plasma wave, and then you put in an apple. The water you drink will have the energy of the apple, the taste of apple, the emotion of the apple. There is a huge employment to come on the back of this new technology, and a huge unemployment of the old. The transition time will bring pain to some. In a way, the pain will be they just don't have a job to do, but they have everything else. So it's not a misery. I said in a talk very recently, with the new technology we release, when you are made redundant, you're not given a handshake or a pension, you're given a MAGRAB unit. That this gives you everything you need. No man should worry if he has a job to get paid, because now you don't need to be paid. You pay out of the pleasure of your work to the others what to do. I'm going to go quiet. I sit till we get a confirmation Douglas has arrived. And then we'll take the step and we'll see where we're going to go. Carry on, please.
Yeah, I've got some pictures that I'll post from the previous stop that he had. Let me see here. Let's get this.
Rick,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would just say a message to Farad Amini. He is listening to this workshop, and I try to reach him since a half an hour that he frees my post in Keshe Foundation Germany, that more people can be informed about this teaching tonight.
Okay, and
Yes, Peter, of course, we do. Hello, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry, I didn't saw that. We are fully here. We're looking here. We are escorting Douglas and all. You know. Okay, we do it directly. Thanks.
These are the ones I sent to. Which one? What's that? Ah. Oop. Oh, God. I'm out. No, I'm back. Oh, they were very quick making the shirts. Yeah.
do you want to? You're okay with your microphone open there, Mr. Kesher?
Yeah, it's okay. Just seeing the T-shirts of Sandy.
Yes,
they were very quick building these T-shirts.
Yeah, they're on the website. Yeah.
Yep.
There's two different ones there. You can see on the previous picture. Let's reshare it with Douglas.
There's a lot more pictures in your cloud account there.
Oh, yeah, that's the other one.
Yeah.
And so we have them available as iron-ons for T-shirts right now.
Yeah. And I did it's the man standing or person standing in the Galaxy cloud holding his hand up along with the logo there. Yeah.
Lost.
Made him up last night.
Where do I go? Okay, I'm gonna go quiet when we are ready. When they're approaching, let us know. Is Arman in the background? Arman, are you with us?
I don't see him. Last
see.
I talked to him, it was very busy where he was.
Okay. Do we know where he is?
Don't know where he is. I know he's in DC.
He's with Brett. He's not up to much good.
That's right.
When those two get together, there's bad news. They enjoy themselves too much. Okay, we wait for him till he appears. Okay, thanks very much.
Be about an hour before, a little over an hour yet before they get there.
No problem, we wait. We have all the time in the world. We waited millions of years for today. An hour is not much. Thank you very much.
There's a question from Thomas about the cobalt. Please ask Jackie. I don't know if that could be followed up from yesterday about the cobalt.
I don't, Jackie, is that something you'd want to discuss? Anything about cobalt you'd like to share? Came up in our chat yesterday.
Not really. I don't know.
Okay. Mark says, I'm Mark from Detroit. Could Peter show, and and talk about his gold GANs. I'm working on mine. Thank you. So any other information, any breaking news, or other things we should be tuning into here on the ground as such? We just have to wait for more news from our main man.
Yeah, they're still in Maryland. It'll be about an hour, 2:30. Yeah, it'll be closer to 4 o'clock before they get there, Eastern time.
Well, one thing that's come up, and it'd be nice to have a solution, which again, this ties into an earlier conversation about transcriptions, translations, and so on in general. But there's quite a few of our Chinese friends that are in the Zoom chat here. And there was one person making quite a few comments earlier that they really like to have Chinese translation. They can't understand the English. And apparently there's quite a few that don't understand the English that are in the Zoom and would be listening to the Zoom if they had access to Chinese. And of course it's difficult. We can't stop after every sentence and translate into dozens of different languages that may wish to listen. But at the same time, we should try to take care of our Chinese friends, because they're pretty much the majority in here right now, I think, as far as languages that need help with the translation of the English. So I'm thinking, like I suggested a couple of times, that as has been suggested in the past, that they set up a separate Zoom room and have someone that's a translator can be listening in this Zoom room and speaking in their microphone to the other Zoom room or other Chinese room, perhaps in some other format, and translating directly whatever English comes up. And then the Chinese people could go to that other room and get a live feed of the Chinese translation of the English that's going on. And it wouldn't interfere with our English session here. And then we could set up separate rooms like that for other languages as it comes up. Spanish comes to mind. That's a major one as well. So I'm wondering if anybody has any feedback about that some way we can help facilitate that, or if there's a Chinese translator that's willing to sit there and translate all day and into this other room where the other folks are.
If Jackie wants and gives me a sign, I can do that for the French community. Monique here.
Right. John says the Chinese group have QQ video chatting setting. They're broadcasting the Zoom in real time. Right, so they could be broadcasting their own Zoom room to their QQ channel, though. That's the point, I think. They are doing this. John says they're translating live. John, do you mean they are? Yeah, why to translate live sometimes? Yes, and the time zone's different. It's midnight for them now, so there's yeah, there's different issues. But I was getting a complaint earlier that they weren't getting. They wanted to, or at least this one person wanted to have Chinese translation in the Zoom here now. Tony says they should arrange a translator on their side, even 2 or 3 translators. Yeah, I agree, and that's what I mean. If they had someone that's in the Zoom here and could be speaking and translating to some other location at the same time, and that can be broadcast to the YouTube or to QQ. Anyway, we will work it out as we go along. It's one of those technical things that it should be easy by now. We should be all speaking universal language or some sort of translator that automatically translates everything we say and everyone else in their language. Somehow it makes sense to them. But I guess we're not quite there yet. Some of the iPhones seem close and some of the other apps. Okay, how would we like to proceed here? Are there more pictures that we can post? I got some there, but here's a picture of, there's another one I can post here, I suppose. It's just of Douglas and then some other people. I'm not sure. I think they were in the first meeting picture, actually.
Rick, I don't know if you missed it, but it was mentioned a few minutes ago that there's a whole bunch of pictures in your cloud account.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was busy trying to get them off of Facebook. It was very difficult to try to get them blurry. So maybe that's the way to do it. I'll try to do that in the background.
Rick,
Yeah.
can someone expand on what Mr. Cash meant by a chip from like a computer or a calculator, what that might be?
A chip.
Yeah, he's speaking of the microchips that are inside the electronics, the little black squares. You take one of those and you smash it to bits into a powder and you make a GANs out of that. When he mentioned that, the first thing I thought of is my $1,000 computer is all of a sudden a paperweight, but it may be the size of the field matters as well.
Does that, you think, relate to the filtration process that we might seek? Like when Douglas puts a piece of copper underneath the reactor ball to block, like filter out certain unwanted fields?
I would think that would be part of it, certainly. Mr. Kesh did mention some specifics. If you can figure out one component that they're using that's important in their systems and make a GANs of that, you will render that component irrelevant. I think that's kind of what you're getting at, isn't it?
Like if you wanted to filter something out of something, if you use the GANs of that, does that effectively block it, or does it?
That's what was mentioned, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody know if these pictures were supposed to be pictures of the trip or just pictures of banners and so on? I can't find any pictures of the trip on the cloud. Maybe I'll find out in the background here. People can discuss, or if they want to start some sort of particular topic or have something, questions or whatever.
Hello, Rick. Thank you for the picture. Very nice.
Pardon me? Hello?
You can understand me?
Barely hear you.
Is this better?
Oh, yes, that's way better.
My microphone was hanging down.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has a good topic to start? Everybody is quiet.
Torbjörn had some more stuff to show. If it can be useful to everybody.
Sure, why not?
This is so big that
Are you serious?
it would make much more sense to just look at the pictures, I think.
Where are you going? Oh. Quiet. There was quiet. That's quiet. That's the.
I'm promoting 3 people to panelists there, so perhaps we'll get a little bit of sound action happening from their voices. When it goes quiet, people think the sound's not working anymore. Okay, is it Joe Quarter? Did you have something you wanted to say? There's also an R. Thomas Westermeyer who wanted to be promoted. I wonder if you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah, here's Thomas. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello, go ahead. Say
yes, about the cobalt.
Yeah, who are you first?
I'm Thomas Westermeyer from Switzerland.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Actually, I just had a little exchange with Jackie. Actually, the reason why I have made this mention about asking Jackie was that he has made guns with cobalt, but maybe he doesn't want to go further on now. I think he is also listening. But
Yes, I've already asked him about it, and he said he didn't want to discuss it. So I guess that's it for that right now.
Maybe I can make a little mention. I think this gentleman made a remark about having some blue powder. I don't know if he spoke about the color, because there is a blue powder. A blue color is made out of cobalt. But I think if he wants to work with cobalt, he better looks for a plate of cobalt, the metal.
No, I don't think so at all. Mr. Kesh seemed to be indicating that to work with it on a more organic basis. Perhaps vitamin B or something like that might be a way to obtain it.
Okay, it was just, I just wanted to mention it.
Yeah, I don't think that the element metal is what was intended there. I could be wrong. What are other opinions on that? I thought that's what he was talking about earlier.
Maybe another time when Mr. Kesh has time, you can sort of ask him, because apparently cobalt seems to be an important part.
Well, he's probably listening in right now as we discuss this, but...
Yes, Rick, I can jump in.
Okay.
Mr. Kesh is always referring to the natural process of harvesting to make ganses, because that's what your body is near to, not from a metal plate. Or that's why I brought the topic up, especially yesterday again. That's why Mr. Kesh came back online to explain specific how you can harvest cobalt from vegetables, from fruit, from red meat. You just have to go and analyze where you have the highest amount and how to harvest it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that clarifies it.
You're welcome. No problem.
A little other question. What about the iodine? Because I have also procured some iodine, but crystals from the deep earth, not from harvested from CETAM.
This is the same procedure. You can find it in certain fruits, in brain of animals is the easiest way to find it. So if you go and look it up on wherever you can on the internet, there's a good information bank. It can maybe guide you. Even in bone marrows, you can find iodine easy. Just one moment, please. I'm going to pass to Mr. Kesh.
This noise. Sorry about the noise in the background, but we have no choice. It's the way it's around here. Every element which the body of the man needs is produced and starts in bone marrow. So if you're looking for iodine, the best part is the bone marrow or the brain. With it, you find the cesium which needed, then it converts to cobalt 2. Parts of the bone marrow in a very, very central point produce cesium, not cobalt. And that's the secret about how, when it reaches the brain, becomes part of the soul of the man. We never look for cesium in the body of the man, but in fact our bone marrow creates in specific points cesium. And it works for the elevation of the soul. So your bone marrow or your the brain is the best place to look for what you need.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kesh, can I ask a question?
Yes. Why do you need to ask us a question?
Yes. You talk about the changes, like with the electricity companies, etc. I know, because I'm a sort of a change consultant, that if change is too rapid, it makes fear and it makes resistance. Is there any implementation scenario how we can...
Let me stop. Yes. Who's afraid of and who's resisting? Nobody can stop you in the house to take a copper wire from the wall. The connection between the your what do you call it? Your meter and your first flog. That's all the word you need to change your life. Who creates fear? Who creates resistance?
You are right, but there is, of course,
Of course, we
people
expect
in
a
the middle.
resistance. Doesn't matter. They have to find a new job. Goodbye. General Electric, I sat with them on the table in Brussels nearly 8 years ago. They said at the moment we got enough orders on our books for these, what I call the fan, cooling fans. You call them windmills. We don't have to worry about it. Now they have to answer to the pensioners who bought the shares. The biggest problem of the multinationals is how they can satisfy the need of the shareholders, the pensioners, because a lot of pension funds have their shares. It is not your problem. They robbed enough. How much more? We don't confirm. We just develop the technology. We deliver the technology. We let the man to enjoy it. That's their problem. It's their fear. It's like now we see. Let me explain to you. There is a Facebook page which says Cash Facts, and on it are inciting murder. We have taken pictures of it. By any international law, the man who sets it up and he allows it to go on is on life of attempted murder. He'll be arrested. It's on the way. Mr. Red Circle, because of holding the Facebook, calling fake what you facts about cash or whatever, and on it are inciting murder and all sorts in Barletta and the rest, is on his way to prison. In a very short time, he'll be arrested. Are we afraid of these people? Because if you're in charge of a website, you have to control it that it doesn't do anything inciting murder. Now he's doing it, and the people who put it in there are already on the file of the police. We have their pictures. They thought they're untouchable. Who are we afraid of? I'm not afraid of being killed by a man who's killed many people. Who are they? Who are we afraid of? By any international law, you put a threat on anywhere, you are inciting violence or murder. You have to be. And they're putting aside how they're going to kill me and my child. And then they are very proud. The man who's in charge of that is already on the line to be arrested. Who are we afraid of? Who is going to be threatened? You go on. We have taken all the pictures, all the Facebook pictures of it. The man who makes the threat is already on the hand with the French police.
Yes, you're of course
So
right.
we are not afraid of. We are not afraid of anything. We have their pictures, their data. We know where they are born. We know everything about them. It cannot be any more than that. Multinational, they can't build anymore. The multinationals, what are they afraid of? Who
So
are
the-
we afraid of? Where is the resistance going to come?
So the
Can
scenario
anybody
is-
tell? Pardon?
The scenario is everybody with the blueprint will build it itself and will, in that way, as an oil field, will get other people on board.
What do you mean?
Like
No, they build it. We build it. The Cash Foundation manufacturers will build it. We let everybody on this planet to build it. This is the freedom. This is what we have.
yes, like an
This is
oil, like
we are
like
an oil well. Your oil well is your knowledge and the time to build it for the old. What are you afraid of? A man who cannot feed his children, an old pensioner who has to wrap 20, 30 blankets around the bed and everything in the winter not to die of cold. How many old people die? The winter is coming in next few weeks, next few months. How many old people are going to die? You have been given a gift. It's your job to strip every wire in your house, which is not needed, every appliances you don't use, which is copper, make a unit and give it to that old man and old woman. That's your obligation from now on. That's your work because you have the heat, you have the water, you have everything else.
Bravo, Mr. Cash.
No, it's not bravo. We have to understand where we sit. This is the change. Let them one by one shut down nuclear power stations. Let them one by one close the oil wells. They have robbed enough. They had a kingdom. I said this before, all the national assets, all whatever is belonging to multinationals should become the asset of the people of one nation, not belonging to anybody because they don't have anymore. When they go bankrupt, what are you going to do with it? The biggest problem for the oil companies is how to shut these oil wells and kept them shut for centuries. We don't need them. What do we need them for? The biggest problem now is French nuclear power. The French are running like crazy trying to find a solution. All the nuclear power stations in France in the next 12 months should be shut down. We don't need them. Do yourself a favor. Make a small power generator, which we release tonight, and connect it at the end of the street to the lamp post. Let the whole street to be lit. You don't need the power station.
Thank you,
for the
Mr.
words.
Cash.
This is your job. Don't be afraid what they're going to do. Be happy that now we can spend time serving the other people. They are doing the hundreds of Cash Foundation supporters day and night, making things for the others. Now we have this generator, this plasma energy generator is the sun. It's you who decides what you want out of it, how you want to convert it. You were looking for a plasma, now we bring all the plasmas together. I have made you free. It's you how to use the freedom and how to allow the freedom to join us. Don't be afraid of multinationals. They have no choice. Nobody can tell you in your house what you drink, what you do, how much energy you use. I don't want energy. This is mine. Now most of the Europe, everybody is free. They can produce what they like. If you don't produce more than 3 to 5 kilowatts, you don't become a producer. So what is the problem? We are free. I have made man free for the first time after millions of years. You don't need to call nobody a king, then rape your child with it because he's a king. If I tell you what I know what the kings have done, going to the sick bed of a child as a king and literally playing with a sick child, this is what the ex-king of Belgium has done. We have evidence for it. Who says who's anybody higher? These people have got to be brought to justice the right way. Now they have nothing to control us. We are free. We are free as one nation. We are free to give what we have. Why should a man sit in Brussels or in Antwerp, make a Facebook, gather all the people who want to kill scientists, and then allow it to be done? Which Facebook allows such a thing? Inciting murder, inciting things should be banned. Why not him? Because they're part of the structure of the government. Now, the French police, the Interpol, the international police are all on top of them. We had their pictures. They thought they're untouchable. We're going to Barletta to do whatever. He's not safe for his child. If you're that decent, we told you he's a pedophile. He's a murderer. Now there's evidence there. How can you go on a Facebook and put, we're going to Barletta, his child is not safe. Caroline and Mehran are not safe. And you're lying on a Facebook, Cash Facebook. Facts. This is a murder site. We are afraid of him? No. He's a piece of God knows what, the lowest thing on the planet. These people created fear to stop us. No more anymore, not from tonight. We have every move they make is under observation of French international police. Everybody are watching. You move from France, Mr. Sam Smith, we get you. Now you know who you're talking. We got your pictures full. Would you like Sando to release his picture to know who we are dealing with? He thinks he's untouchable from Tunisia. He's working with Mr. Whatever you call it, Red Circle, to organize murders. Yeah? You think it's free? You got released the Facebook where they do what they want to do with me and my child because we are releasing. We told you he's a pedophile because otherwise you don't touch a child. This is how they are. This is who they are. Who are we afraid? I'm not afraid of. What should you be? Go on the Facebook. I ask Sandor, please release the pictures of the Facebook about fact about cash or whatever, and you see inciting murder, inciting assaulting a child by any law is criminal. Why does the Facebook allow it? Now we have the pictures. Now we can tell you our release the page. Let people see who we are there. I'm not afraid. Why should we? Release that page.
Mr.
Yeah.
Cash, the backbone of the story alone has over 1,300 words on 6 pages. Just the points, the titles. And there are over 170 topics, which I have to put in stories to let people to understand.
Now we are not afraid of. You cannot run.
Physically, how to make it in a short time? So
Can you would you like to release the couple of hundred pictures of Simon Smith supplied to us by the French security? Mr. Simon Smith, we got you. You can't go and make plans. You were said, and you said you are working for the police on the background to attract the people to set up riots in Paris. All that is not acceptable. Interpol is not buying it. You know who we are talking about. You make a move to harm me or my family, you're on top of your French Interpol. French security is watching you day and night. Where you bought your coppers, everything is with us. We got the full dossier. Go on Veteran today, read how much we know about you. Yeah? Those of you who put, we can do, you can, you're the only one Mr. Sam can do. Mr. Sam was there to attack to see who is can do the murder, then bring you to do the murder for him. Let me explain to you, we stood a lot. Now we are free, we can speak. If you run anywhere inside to murder a child, by any law is criminal, unless you are part of the Facebook and you allow murdering of a child and you collect people to do it for you. Would you like to release the picture of Mr. Simon Smith in Paris? All the 100 and odd pages supplied to us by the French security? They are watching you, Mr. Simon Smith. Stop playing games. You're a Tunisian, handicap on one hand. You can't even hold the camera, organizing murders, getting financing through Persia Cash Foundation plasma technology to organize riots and saying the police you're supporting with the policeman. No policeman supports these things. Now, those of you who thought Mr. Simon Smith is untouchable, he is on the run. He's on a big run, and the French police is watching every move of it. The same as the Red Circle, who allows these things to be published on the website, which he is in charge of moderator, inciting violence. You don't be afraid of anything. These people make you afraid, they stop you on your track. We are not afraid of anything. We are not afraid of anything. We are the only thing we are afraid is the man will not get free by himself. This is the biggest problem. This is the biggest problem. All the cash Facebook facts about cash is all incite violence, and under any law it is. Now we have gathered enough. We're going for all of you who were very good to do Mr. Simon Smith, a Tunisian in France. Do you want to tell us which railway station, which shops, what you bought? You want to see the invoice of your purchases and what you paid cash? So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid at all. We are free people. We are there to do. I told you we know too much. We were waiting for tonight. Now we make you free. You have to understand. We put the face of Mr. Simon Smith anywhere on the internet immediately. A man who incites murder has to be known by all of us who it is. Sandor, can you release this picture, please? On the internet, not here. Not here. Release this picture internationally with the face of this red circle, with the pages where they incite violence. I want to see which force will stop.
I will edit the pictures, write the explanation, the story about, and publish.
Yes, and the pages of the Facebook when they threaten to kill a child. His child is not safe in ballet anymore.
That's why I need to edit to present.
Put it together and release it. Don't need a story. Put it in there and put his face. All 100 odd pages which were supplied by the French police to us. All of you who thought you're gonna go and do harm and you created the French security system is watching you to see who you are, where you come in. Release his mobile number on the Skype too, where we monitored all his communications. Everything released and let the man run. Run for his life. We're going to get you, Mr. Simon Smith, as fast as we can do, and all the people around you who tried to kill, and Mr. Red Circle.
Will that not interfere with the current police investigation, which they are doing?
No. Well, ask our security people. We can do, we do. It's our protection. It's our way.
Okay.
It's investigation is by the police. We work closely. We give and we take. So it's for the French police to make the next move to bring him into justice. Tunisians are honorable people. Africans are honorable people. The people who get paid to carry out murder should be stopped on their track. And Mr. Simon Smith, French police has been on top of your every drink of water you have. And you know it. And you've been told, and you've been given a good indication. We have asked for your arrest for attempted murder, planning a murder, inciting murder. The same with Resenko. Website is run by him, Facebook's run by him. Any site which creates violence, indicates violence, is criminal offense. Don't be afraid. The only thing you've got to be afraid of is we are free. You're free from every angle. We have the technology, we have the knowledge, we can share the knowledge, we can understand the knowledge, we have to spend time. Now I don't need to work 40 hours a week to pay for the electricity and the fuel in the car. I put 10 hours of it making units for the next door neighbors, the old people, and the rest. Have 30 hours to yourself. And then when you're done the 10 hours making for the others, and you see the others having the pleasure of warmth, pleasure of having what they couldn't have because they had to pay the electricity and the rest, I promise you, you work 80 hours a week trying to help the others. You have to understand, life has to be a giving life, not taking that I give. We are giving enough. You take, we allow you the pleasures of life. We allow you to be equal in knowledge with us. You have to allow the others to benefit what we're giving you free. It's not, yes.
I'm sorry. This is Nick in Oslo, and I was listening to your recommendation early on about crushing a computer or a calculator. So I crushed my calculator, but my knowledge of these objects is not good enough. So would it be possible for you if I open my camera?
We teach you how to do it.
Okay.
Allow me to teach you. In time, we teach you how to do it.
Okay, right.
In time, we allow you, because if you do it the wrong way, you can damage your own computer. The principle is most of the military systems carry a specific mixture of materials.
Okay.
You got to understand, most of the military hardware carries a fingerprint. This is, in so many ways, the analysis of the material they create. All the fuel are not the same. One of the easiest ways to stop all the jetliners, fighter planes, to understand the fuel composition and make a guess of that fuel composition. The system of the fuel will not work. Most of, the only thing which we have to be aware of, we cannot touch anything to do with nuclear, what we call reactors in energy sector. These systems cannot be touched, because if they run out of control, we create a bigger problem. We have to collaborate with the governments to bring these on a safe mode, exactly that we are doing in Italy. In Italy, there's a full power nuclear reactor, been running for years, but doesn't go into operation till somehow it gets dismantled in the future. On the other hand, nuclear weapons, nuclear warheads, threats of nuclear warheads, all these use specific materials that they can be contained. I can give you all the secrets. All you need to do is to allow the nuclear reactor warheads to leak within their container. Containment of the radioactive material in the silos is already pre-calculated. There should be no single warhead on the border with Ukraine. No insight of war to get access to the gold of the Russian church. You have to understand what's going on the Crimean border. The war between Russia and what they call terror, whatever Russia is going to do, is all fake. It's all set up by Vatican to empty the Church of Russia, which is the richest church in the world. That's all the plan is. The rest is masquerading. This is a plan set by Vatican. We spoke with the Armenian leaders. They tell us they know what they are doing, what Vatican is up to. The rest of it is rubbish. It's the only nation they cannot get to, and the only way they can get to submit the Russian church to become part of the Vatican organization. They done that after 300 years with Church of England. Queen of England has no power. She submitted the power to Vatican. It's finished. The Crimean War is access to the Church of Russia, and it's all planned. So, do we need the religions which cause problem? Are we afraid of them? What happens if we don't have energy and we can create the energy ourselves? Would it hurt the Vatican? No. Then we see the clarity of the power of the Creator. Why do we need the thief sitting in Vatican? Why do they have to use the soul of the man to rob the man? A man, a path of belief. I always say, we are not going to destroy the churches. We are not going to destroy the mosques. The structure is made through them to reach the man. It's easier than building something new. But first thing is we have to make the man the confidence that he can stand the cycle. First thing the man has to understand that death, illness is part of the cycle of the existence in the universe. Then it cannot be used to abuse it. Because if we get that strength in a space, they can't build other churches for us. My fight, the struggle with you, with giving everything, all the knowledge, is not to make you free, is to make you strong enough that you cannot be abused again in the space. Because now you have the confidence, you have everything. Nobody can build a church halfway between here and planet Zeus says this is the new religion. If you understand the process of the creation, if you respect the Creator, why do you need people to abuse it in His name? When we open up the doors, you can see everything. I told you, I'll bring them for you to see the soul of Christ, and He will tell you who the Pope is. I wonder if there is going to be a Vatican. What are we afraid of? Freedom? Having everything we need? Being able to do and help the others the way it should be? Accidents we cannot stop. But predestined plan to abuse has to stop. What should be people losing their children tonight in Syria, on the border of Crimea, in other parts of the world, for whose benefit? Why should a child not have a father to be killed by a bullet tonight in Syria? Because Vatican decided to rob the central bank and they are after it? Why should Vatican pay for 9 million landmines to be planted on the border of Iran that after 30 years, as a gift they gave to Saddam Hussein, that Iranian children every week lose arm and leg? Religion is to protect the man, not to destroy. So there is no religion, it's just a business market. So we destroy the business market by themselves. We don't touch them. We educate. Tonight, you get the key for the freedom of the man. It's a hybrid. It takes a little bit more than the other ways to do it, but at least it's the beginning. Together we develop it. Try to disconnect yourself from electron vibration. Try to disconnect yourself. All your system will work. But try to get supply from a plasma. You even feel different. The environment will change. Because electronic vibration, electrical systems create a vibration energy which is not in the balance of the man. Our body works with plasma. Once you disconnect your system from electrical vibration and plasma vibration of electrical system, and the same energy will convert in the plasma, you will see the difference. You will feel the difference. And at the same time, not only you feed your systems like your electrical heaters, but you feed your soul, you feed your body, you feed everything which is within you. Not every man can make it. We set up the factories, we do it, and as I said, we do it the way it needs to be done. We have to respect the laws set for security, set for safety, but we don't have to be afraid of anything else. Build one. When you build one and it works, build 3, give 2 away. And tell the man who you gave it to, if it's, give 1 to a capable man and 1 the man who needs it. And do the same thing with the capable man. Say, make 2 more. Show him the way and let him do. In a matter of the year, most of you supply everything. Show them how to make boats, show them how to make food, show them everything else. We release blueprints on a continuous basis. We have the most beautiful innovation team in the world. Very compact, graceful people, honest, correct, sharing knowledge, working to bring it in. You have a gift of the creator in the people like Douglas, Brennan, Vernie, and the rest of the people in the innovation team. To be a member of the Keshe Foundation Innovation Team, you have to have a pure soul, and these people have it. Don't be afraid. Just from tonight, start processing, start understanding, replicating. Parts you need to buy to adapt. This is temporary. We know it, but as I explained to you, we knew the governments are listening, they could block us. This way they can't block us. We release it today, we deliver it today. The conversion to a total plasmatic is already done. We are testing. It's not that we are planning to do. Vernie, is Vernie on the line? Can we see Vernie?
We have here.
Coming.
Hello, Renan. Hello. Hello.
Yes, Bernie is. We're having a short meeting, and Bernie is getting inside.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much. Can you bring the charger upstairs? Okay. Renan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Have you sent all the blueprints around to all the people?
We're doing a final review and drawings together, sir, and I'll be sending it in few minutes.
Okay,
just waiting
please.
one confirmation.
Okay, no problem. All the people who are listening who receive the blueprint do not, as we agreed, do anything till we release it. Till we ask when we receive the armaments confirmation, the technology has been seen, and it's seen by the people in wherever they organize it, then we release it. We stay up tonight till we reach the point of conversion. As you see, we are ready to go. Everything is done for us to be able to complete the process. Nothing can stop the foundation. We have the blueprints. We have the blueprints here in Italy. If anything happens from 3 points in Italy, the internet will be flooded. The minute you receive the blueprints, please immediately go on the internet, on the Facebook, and let people. Make sure you give them the view of the recording. make sure you give them a picture, the video which we released, that how much energy can be produced. That they see is not just printed, this is it, this is what they have to achieve.
I see Bernie.
Pardon?
I see Bernie, he say, I'm online.
Hi, Bernie.
I see that in the chat. It's Dominique from France.
Yeah, but we got to bring him up. Can somebody bring Bernie up? Can you promote him that he can speak?
Yeah, just promote him, Mr. Cash.
Hello.
Hi, Bernie.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hello,
Bernie.
yes.
Bernie, how far are we from testing the miniature pack? The power pack.
I'll be testing within 24 hours.
This is the miniature pack, which what we're thinking about give 3 to 5 kilowatts.
Yes.
What is the dimension of it, if you can tell us?
For the circuitry, it fits inside a short bond paper. For the, if you lay them flat, but you can stack them into just like Rubik's Cube.
You fit in a Rubik Cube.
Yes.
This is totally plasmatic.
Yes.
So it's not a hybrid. Bernie has been working very hard to bring. Thank you very much, Bernie. It's a pleasure to work with this man. He's a pure soul, and it's a pleasure to have a team like this that you can work with. So as you hear, would you like to explain to us more, Bernie, please, what to expect?
Yeah, we from what has been done by Douglas, we managed to convert certain devices into its plasmatic circuitry equivalent that we can that the unit can amplify the signal or can feed to itself, that it becomes alive on its own.
You got to understand that we released the coil system, the stacker unit, and different members of the Keshe Foundation start working on it in different ways. And Douglas used the stacker unit and the capacitors and brought the hybrid system into the infinity loop of using the energy. And now we are going back into the board to creating a plasmatic system. And this is where we are. So we are building on the original stacker unit. Without the stacker unit, the system doesn't work. It's a combination of the totality of the knowledge, which has led us to complete as a power unit. Is there anything more you want to add, Freddie?
Yes, we've while investigating all the circuitry ever since during last year with Alex beads and all similar circuitry that generates energy, we've seen a while ago with our during our short meeting, we've seen the same pattern repeated in a different manner, but all the same pattern of doing things to generate energy. And now we understood it fully that we can, I believe we can implement it in different scales. So we will incorporate it on our next release. So we will see to it that it will work, that everybody can follow it.
So if we extend the miniaturization, maybe in the next 3 months, 6 months, we can go down to, as I see it, to a AA size battery. And then these all have the capability of delivering anything between 3 to 10 kilowatts of energy. The reality is now we're dealing with nanomaterials. We're dealing with the plasmatic condition. The energy is more compact. The energy is much more freer. There are no losses, and there is access to a huge amount of energy. As Vernie is an expert in using liquid plasma, the next step for us is the liquid system, which means we walk away from even the winding and the coils, and you will receive a liquid plasma generator, which is no elements, matter elements in it. This is about 3 to 6 months away at least. So even though we give you the hybrid, we start the process of the change, but in fact, this is the beginning of the change. This is the beginning of bringing everything together, beginning of a new evolution in the science of energy and food and everything else that you can imagine. Anything else you would like to add?
Not at this time, Mr. Kesh. Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
Thank you very much for all your work and support, Vernie. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So as you see, while you're waiting for Douglas to arrive, we can show you even the system which is with Douglas is already miniaturized. It's not a hybrid. The test we know 99% will be successful. We were hoping that we can share it by tonight or tomorrow, but once we share, we test completely, we are happy with it, we immediately share it with you. It'll be the blueprint on the back of blueprint. As you said, Rubik Cube, if you know what it is, about 5 or 7 centimeter by 5 or 7 centimeters. The power delivery between 3 to 10 kilowatts. Off grid, you just need to do it, but on the other hand, if you can put a number of these Rubik cubes together and understand the interaction of the fields as it happens internally in them, we achieve the wireless energy transfer. Now you understand how advanced the technology has become. Even what we're showing is what we call the very much preliminary one. Is the beginning. We have to start somewhere, and I think it's a good place to start. Do we know where Douglas is at the moment?
Flint, can you give us an update on that? Or are you there?
Looks like we got about 30 minutes or so plus traffic.
Plus traffic. It's a Washington traffic on a Sunday afternoon.
Shouldn't be too bad.
Is there anything else anybody wants to add or anything you want to ask? Oh, that's another one. Where has this come from? This picture on the screen?
So it was taken this morning at the last stop.
I'll just share some of the pictures of that came in recently, and have pictures from the road. It's quite a beautiful banner that Flint put together, it seems like. And we have...
Yeah, I did all these graphics yesterday, got them all ready to print out and everything.
Yeah, and we have T-shirts that got printed, obviously. Modeling the T-shirt.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of T-shirt wearers and all kinds of printed materials, and they've sort of taken over the restaurant corner, it looks like. That's great.
Yeah, some flyers they printed there, and
Yeah. That was good for a 24-hour blitz, basically. Oh, they're just putting the T-shirts in.
yeah, a whole bag of them there.
Yeah, I guess so.
Awesome.
Welcome to Illinois.
Yeah.
Oh, another sleepy kid. Hard times on the road.
This is historic.
Yeah.
History in the making.
So they should be there by 4 p.m. Eastern time, correct?
Yes, they're probably just getting into the vicinity right now. And yeah.
Well, I guess the windmill is an interesting picture, actually.
Yeah, this is actually the winding of this is all the copper you need to feed the whole city. I tell you something. If any of you can go on Google Map and go between Bari and Napoli, there is a mountain range we have to pass every time we go to Rome. We have to go from Bari to direction Napoli and go north towards Rome. And in this mountain range must be, God knows, hundreds and hundreds of these windmills. And strange enough, some of them, they say, that don't even have the rotor in them. They just put it up to get the money. And I always say all these rotors, if you dismantle them, will supply every house in Italy. There's hundreds of them. If you can find a Google map of it and take a shot of it, they are dotted all over the mountain. They come out of the back of the mountains as you drive. They just appear in front of you. And there's enough wire in these to literally dismantle. We think you need less than very few meters, maybe 10, 20 meters for creating a full generator with a matter GANs, or what you call the nanomaterials. But when we go to the plasma, this will be not needed either.
Maybe these roads won't be needed longer as well, Mr. Kesh. Any luck?
That's not very far. We wanted to show it. They said no.
We keep the roads for those who want bicycles still.
You still need to walk, huh? That is, it's very interesting. It's part of our evolution. We can't laugh at it, but this is how we became what we are. Every piece of drilling a hole in a mountain was another piece of knowledge which we needed for the comfort of the man. It's just, pardon?
That's a good example of the hole in the mountain there.
That's a big tunnel. Your tunnels in America look very good compared to us in Italy, huh? We just see the rock sometimes. They just drill it because they have to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
In Norway, it's supposed to be one of the richest country in the world. They redo our tunnels every few years because they want to make so much money that they construct them in bad way in order to reconstruct them constantly and earn more money from the taxpayers' money.
Oh, we know all this. We've seen many of these. I can tell you many stories. The best one is, as you are in America, that's his little boy in the background. Douglas. Yeah. One of the best one is when they start trying to find out where all the expenses going in the American military, and then they found out that Lockheed Martin is charging something like a couple of $1,000s for one screw, which you could buy off the shop for about a cent. And this is how they do it. This is an amazing way it's done, and so it has to be the way it is. He's on his way, Baltimore. Oh, he's carrying the maglev system with him. Fantastic. Boy, you're carrying the world's energy power supply with you in the hand of the smallest hand.
He looks pretty happy with it too.
Yeah. He's Mr. Plasma, huh?
Yep, he's the 4-year-old plasma scientist.
Yeah.
Plasma poster boy here now.
But I remember him yesterday. I was listening very late that he says he put the CO2 on the chicken, and he says, "Why are you putting the GANs on him?" I call it the Mr. GANs man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we wait for this to arrive. Maybe in about an hour and a half, we should be getting a full glance of the maglev unit in operation, and we should be able to see. This is Wayne from Los Angeles, who's come all the way up. We'll meet in time. We assemble in time. Maybe in a hotel or whatever. If the government officials are not ready to see, then they have to come to us. We don't go to the White House. Once we set up this system in a hotel, we keep it there, and it's for the officials to come and see it. We make base, and we tell people where we are, that people can come in and see it. I don't understand.
Mr. Kesh?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about the...
Who's speaking first, please?
Stephen from California.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about like creating these health rooms or these areas that are where people would walk through a system and come out healed. Is the atmosphere that is within the bubble of the plasma interacting with the lung? I'm trying to understand.
Every cell of your body. I was trying to explain this to a dentist yesterday. You have to, if I can, when Rick finished showing these things, I explained to you what it means on the board. Rick, can I share a screen for a few minutes? And
yes.
Back on this?
Go ahead. We're at the end of that string anyways.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna... So, okay. It's not allowing me to share. You have to promote me somewhere.
Okay, I unlocked it.
Okay, I'm in. Okay, what happens when you create a plasma environment with putting systems around it, and let's say this is your body. I'm going to make it fat with everything in it, with your little legs and little arms. When you create a plasma and the body, let's say the whole structure of the body is in balance. We see that white. When, let's say, this point, a tumor in the lung is created, the plasmatic environment, when you put in the system, compares this with its environment. If this is not in such a space that is not in balance, it's trying to transfer fields across in every shape or form as you see it. This compares this with the immediate cells around it and the cells around it. This is how we see such a rapid reduction in the size of the tumors, because the energy comparison is with the outside first. Now this is not balanced with the outside. It changes, goes to the next layer, next layer, next layer, till it gets to the seed, to the center of it. And in the medical part, I have explained that to Dr. Rodriguez, and it's been tested to be correct. Then you create an environment for that seed through your system, that the energy of the seed is transferred and the seed of the cancer does not exist. Every cancer is not, as we said, there are three types of cancer. You got the evolutionary cancer, you got the what I call accidental cancer, and then you have the cancers which come the emotional. 80% of our cancers are emotional. 90% of cancers are created by emotion. So when you have these systems, the whole system works not only just on the physical, but the emotion too, which caused the creation of this. So in this process, you work with the totality. In this process, you work with all the elements step by step, from layer by layer by layer by layer. When it's not in comparison to its environment the same, then it releases its energy, is taken and is used. And what we do, we dump it into salt water, which is the energy which is arrived. You don't circulate the balance energy. What is coming in is always dumped. This is how we do it at this moment of time. In the plasmatic condition, when you enter these rooms, you have to find balance in respect to the cell next, not to a cell with here. It's the way it works. If there is a balance, there is no difference, and the balance is near enough. That's why if you look at the structure of brain, layer by layer is very, very similar to each other. So you don't see a tumor. When there is a tumor, there is huge amount of energy, because tumors usually have a seed. You have to understand how a tumor is created. The tumor starts with, let's say, a seed of calcium. Calcium in the amino acid environment is heavy, because it's in comparison to the others. When you have a few calcium grains together, now they create a gravitational pull. And this gravitational pull starts absorbing energy, because it's in a gas state. It's not in a matter state. So in absorbing energy, it creates itself a more and more field expansion. And now it absorbs all the energy from all the environment into it. What you do with these systems is you create a balance which these fields gradually, as they share their energy, they literally disappear, because the field goes somewhere else. And then as you dismantle this, you see, you get to the seed. You go up down to about 80%. But if you change now, when we have the coils, at the moment we're producing coils, so it's fixed with a fixed material. We still get left with about 20% of the cancer in the center. Now with the GAN system, you can do two things. You can go directly for the plasma, and you go directly into the plasma. You create the reduction in the tumor, and then you know the seed. Like we know 100% of the breast cancer, the seed is calcium. Once you taken the structure away from it, then you change your coil combination in the boundary to a calcium level, higher, lower, and in the process you take the calcium out. This has been done. We've seen the grain of calcium even as on the hair is done by the doctors in South America. If you in the, what do you call it, doctor's teaching, where we do private just for doctors, we see these things. They report what they've seen, how they've done, and what they've seen, and how the process works. We've seen we look at the blood structure in a different way. We look at when you have a cancer, we don't look at the blood as done in the hospitals today. We have asked the doctors to look into the metals and semiconductors and other elements like minerals in the blood. The blood results of today